Commissioner Andrades is absent. Commissioner Field.
Present.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Present.
Commissioner Levine will be joining us late. Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
Present.
Commissioner Mesa is present. Commissioner Murray.
Present.
Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein.
Present.
Commissioner Thomas. Present. Commissioner Yap may be joining us. We have a quorum. All right, Commissioners, we're going to jump to ex parte communications, and I'm going to read from the motion. An ex parte communication is a communication between any member of the Los Angeles Charter Reform Commission and any elected city officer or member of any elected city officer staff regarding a matter pending before the Commission. An ex parte communication does not include any communication that takes place on the record during an official public meeting. The requirements of this section do not apply to communication between a commission member and a member of the city attorney's office providing legal counsel. A commissioner shall disclose any ex parte communication at the next commission meeting following the communication. Any off-the-record communication that takes place during an official public meeting shall be disclosed before the adjournment of the meeting. Disclosure shall include the time and date of the communication, the form of the communication, the approximate duration of the communication if applicable, the identity of the persons who participate in the communication, and a summary of the content of the communication. The summary shall include a general description of the types of charter reforms communicated. Commission members or commission staff may ask a commission member to resubmit communication disclosures that are not sufficiently detailed. The Charter Reform Commission staff shall maintain a public database on the Charter Reform Commission website where a log of ex parte communications can be found. The Charter staff shall update this log within 72 hours of an ex parte communication disclosure. Failure to comply with the requirement of this section shall subject the Commission member to potential censure by the Commission, and the Commission may resolve to recommend the appropriate appointing authority initiate removal of the Commission member. A violation of this section shall not render any action of the Commission or Commission member invalid. I'm going to go around the dais and ask if any Commission member has any ex parte disclosure since our last meeting. Commissioner Mack.
None.
Commissioner Fuentes.
No.
Commissioner Thomas.
No.
Commissioner Stein.
None.
Commissioner Mesa has none. Commissioner Murray.
No.
Commissioner Field.
None.
Thank you, Commissioners. We now move on to public comment. As a reminder, we will have 30 minutes of in-person public comment, followed by 30 minutes of virtual public comment. If there is time remaining, we will come back for public comment in the room with 1 hour allotted for total public comment. I believe the staff is getting the list. Is there anyone who wishes to speak who has not signed up yet to speak? All right, thank you. Let me get the number and then we'll do the time allotment, everyone. Okay, we'll do that. Okay. How many are on the list?
Mr. Chair, we have about 15 online and 18 signed up in person.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll do a minute 30, but before we go to public comment, we do have some representatives of elected officials who are here to speak. Representatives of elected officials will get 5 minutes to speak. That time does not count against the time allocated for public comment. I see representatives from Councilmembers Hugo Soto-Martinez and Eunisses Hernandez. Are there any other council offices or elected offices that would like to speak today? All right, if we could have the representative from Councilmember Soto-Martinez, please.
Hello.
We got to turn on the mic 1 second.
Hello. Is that Yep. No. You want to try?
Did you say the magic?
I don't know.
Can we,
Is it?
The switch is up in the top.
This is new one.
We got it.
give us 1 minute, everyone. For those watching on Zoom, we're just doing a technical fix.
This is going to be
Okay, hello. My name is Sachin Medhekar. I'm here on behalf of Los Angeles City Councilmember Soto-Martinez, and I'm here to share 2 recommendations our office is urging you to advance in your report to the Los Angeles City Council. Before I dive in, on behalf of Councilmember Soto-Martinez, I want to thank you all for your tireless work to improve the city for all its members. You all have been tasked with engaging our communities and collaboratively envisioning what our government can be when we center accountability and transparency in our charter and in our balance of powers. Our office has been following the Commission's deliberations incredibly closely. The council member testified in person last year to the Personnel and Budget Committee chaired by Commissioner Mack, and our office has multiple staffers that watch every single commission meeting. Of the many issues this Charter Reform Commission has taken on, it is clear that one of the most important is how our city governs its largest department, our LAPD. This department is our city's single largest investment, and the public has repeatedly made it clear that improvements to the oversight and accountability of this department are a significant priority. The work of improving this multi-billion-dollar department requires ongoing work, and to that end, alongside any proposal for an additional commission to address policing reforms, we are strongly recommending you advance our first crucial and timely reform. We are urging this commission to advance a reform to empower City Council with policy oversight over the police department. This can be done in conjunction with the proposal for an additional ongoing commission. Please review. As has been discussed here, the elected policymakers of this city are currently not afforded this oversight of their largest department. This robs the public of crucial ongoing accountability and deliberation by their representatives over the policies and priorities of a department that is dealing with life or death issues every day. For example, our office is getting inquiries almost every day with concerns about LAPD's interactions with ICE and their use of force and chemical weapons against protesters. The truth is, the City Council doesn't have direct oversight over those issues, and our civilian police commissioners have to rely on the police themselves to conduct investigations and produce reports because the commissioners do not have the staff or capacity to do so themselves. The recommendation we shared with you would not replace any civilian oversight or mire council in the details of hiring, firing, or disciplining individual officers. What it will do is empower the elected representatives of this city to engage in the important work of ensuring that our police department is prioritizing the safety and stability of our residents and utilizing the public's dollars effectively, that they are protecting our residents' rights as well as their lives and property, and that they are safeguarding all of our residents, undocumented or otherwise. And importantly, if it becomes clear that any of our police department's policies or procedures are placing our communities in harm's way or creating significant financial liability for our city, this reform will allow council to work with our residents to make the changes our communities deserve, and which will allow the department to focus on its core mission of protecting and serving residents. Our second recommendation is to enshrine in the charter the ability for the chief of police to fire an officer if the chief makes the assessment that such removal is warranted and necessary, based on the officer's conduct. The chief's hands should not be tied when it comes to ensuring that officers are living up to the standards of the department. And right now, there are a number of officers currently on payroll who committed misconduct serious enough that they are not allowed to engage with the public. This is not an appropriate use of public funds, and the chief should be able to make such a determination. Advancing these reforms is simply giving voters a choice. Many proposals related to LAPD may benefit from additional expertise, but these proposals are common sense, and we urge you to advance them in your recommendations without delay. Thank you.
Test, test. There we go.
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. Hi, good afternoon, wonderful commissioners. My name is Kelkar, and I'm the legislative director with the Office of Councilmember Eunisses Hernandez, and I'm here on behalf of the councilmember to relay her comments for the record. I'd first like to share a brief history on how we've come to this moment. After the murder of George Floyd in May 2020, there were record-breaking uprisings across the country, and here in Los Angeles, we saw hundreds of thousands of people come together to exercise their First Amendment rights through marching and protests. The city was put on a curfew for weeks to try to ameliorate the righteous and rightful plea for an end to police brutality. Ironically and unfortunately, as we have come to expect, many of the protests were met with a fierce response from LAPD, including crowd-control tactics that were being caught on camera in a way they hadn't been before. As the movement began demanding a people's budget, there was also a groundswell to amend the city's charter. There was a deeply seen need to amend our beloved city's constitution to better reflect the needs of Angelenos when the police force was so openly and clearly harming its people, the same people they were sworn to protect. These calls for change continued to happen. Advocacy groups organized, reported, and made meaningful headway in changing the direction the city was headed. Then, in October of 2022, the racist tapes were leaked. This precipitated the Ad Hoc Committee on Governance Reform and led us to this commission. This body's responsibility, as heavy as it may be, was always to turn our charter into a more just and accountable document. On January 31st, members of this body moved forward with proposing a Christopher-style commission tied to the mayoral election, instead of considering the 13 different recommendations presented to the commission. It must be noted that the first appointment to what became the Board of Police Commissioners was in 1876, when the population of the city of Los Angeles was between 11 and 12,000 people. That basic model has stayed in place for the last 150 years as our city's population size and demographics have shifted, and as the size, power, and funding of the police department has increased exponentially. Our last major step toward police accountability came after the 1992 brutal beating of Rodney King and the civil unrest, when Mayor Tom Bradley created the Independent Commission on the LAPD to take a hard look at how the department operated. The Independent Commission found that the Police Commission didn't have the tools or capacity to provide real oversight, especially when it came to complaints and discipline. In 1995, voters approved creating the Office of the Inspector General. It was an important milestone, but 30 years later, it's clear this change did not deliver the transparency, independence, or accountability Angelenos expect and deserve today. Now, fast forward to last June, when Angelenos were protesting the federal government descending into our city and kidnapping our neighbors. Over that first weekend in June, over 700 rounds of LAPD less lethal munitions were deployed against Angelenos, protesting the federal government's racist and fascist actions against their neighbors. The police response that weekend cost taxpayers nearly $30 million in overtime. As City Council, we have no direct path to investigate or regulate the circumstances under which those less lethal munitions are deployed. That task is relegated to the unelected Board of Police Commissioners. At the same time, our constituents come to us every single day, demanding accountability, asking why this happened, why no one is being held responsible, and what are we doing about it? As their elected representatives, we should be able to answer those questions. But under the current charter, we often cannot. All of the 13 recommendations for police reform that have been put in front of this commission deserve to be discussed by this full body. However, the most impactful one that must be considered and passed on to the council is the ability for the city council and mayor to have policy oversight of LAPD. LAPD as a department receives $3 billion of the city's budget and over 46% of the city's unrestricted revenues. Last fiscal year, $68 million was paid out for excessive use of force cases. It is the taxpayers who have to foot this bill. However, the elected legislative body has no ability to inquire, regulate, and put guardrails on this department in a way that protects Angelenos' safety and our budget. I implore you to move forward the ability for council to consider mayoral and council oversight of LAPD. Do not push this to yet another commission when the rightful public cry for change to the way LAPD operates dates back decades. Your responsibility to update the charter is immense, but it would be incomplete without this needed change. This moment requires great courage. I know it is courage you have, and I urge you to use it. Thank you.
Alrighty, folks, now we're going to do general public comment. Speakers are going to have a minute and a half to speak. I will call folks 3 at a time to speak. I won't give a 30-second warning. It's just 90 seconds you have a total to speak. We'll do in-person first, and then we'll switch to virtual afterwards. Alrighty. With that being said, James, Justy, Chad. Hold on 1 second. Yeah.
Commissioners, firstly, thank you so much for taking up these reforms. You have before you a packet that outlines each of the reforms, with arguments both for why we believe it is just and correct for you to take up these reforms as a whole, as well as arguments for each one of the individual reforms. I want first to say that there are 3 numbers I would like you to keep in mind for this debate. First, that since September of 2019, Los Angeles has paid out $384 million in police misconduct alone. Second, as Lyric said, this fiscal year, the LAPD has 46.2% of the city's budget, around $3 billion. And third, that earlier this month, 7,189 city employees were furloughed to solve a $3.1 million hole in the city's budget. Dollars are a poor proxy for justice, but they are a good proxy for a city's priorities. Of course, you know this because everyone in LA knows this. There is no single institution that is more broken, mistrusted, and feared in Los Angeles than the LAPD. And nothing that you will do here today in charter reform will be more impactful to the lives of ordinary Angelinos.
We know one of the main reasons reforms have been voted down in this commission is the fear of unintended future consequences. It's a good instinct. However, it must also be balanced against the reality of what will continue to occur if these reforms are instituted, the cost of inaction. On Tuesday, as part of the discussion on neighborhood councils, you voted down a proposed apportion for 1/10 of 1% of the budget, about $14 million in today's budget dollars. Whereas we paid $17.5 million in a single settlement to the family of Paola French, who was murdered inside the Costco by the LAPD, one of these 7 wrongful death suits that were awarded last year alone. The cost of inaction is real and it's deadly. This isn't an issue that will be solved by the Christopher Commission. Ironically, many of the original recommendations from that commission are sitting in front of you as reforms now because they were never taken into functional policy 35 years ago.
As she said, the original Christopher Commission's recommendations are reforms before you now, because they were never implemented 35 years ago. No one is asking the city for another commission, they're asking for action. This is why we ask you to deliberate on these 13 police reforms first, the ones brought to you by mass organizing. They are not radical, they're common sense. Did you know the LAPD is immune to council ordinance? I did before I looked into it. Unlike every other department in the city, the LAPD cannot be held to any standards set by city council or the mayor. They're the only department where the head cannot fire their own employees. We're asking you to let the chief fire officers who commit misconduct. We're asking you to let city council set standards for the police the way it does for every other department. This is not radical. It's just baseline governance.
Thank you. The next 3 are Tather, Carolina, and Andrew. Tather, Carolina, Andrew. Come on down. Tather, go.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. Like the speakers before me, I also want to express my support for reforms 10 and 12. The reforms here are not abstract concepts that require years of additional study. The language is already drafted for you. Councilmember Hugo Soto-Martinez's office has provided specific charter revisions in the letter his office submitted to you all in December. This is not a situation where the commission is being asked to make decisions outside of its expertise. It's merely being asked to move forward with language that is already developed and vetted by elected legislators. For commissioners who are excited about the Christopher Commission or the Christopher Style Commission, I do want to point out that there's a lot of synergy between Reform 10 and the Christopher Style Commission. Under the current charter structure, even if we create another Christopher Commission, its recommendations ultimately rely on the Police Commission to implement. The mayor and city council would have limited ability to translate those recommendations into binding policy. By contrast, if you pass Reform 10 now, this would ensure that any future commission, whether it's modeled on the Christopher Commission or otherwise, is paired with clear authority to act on its findings. In that way, advancing Reform number 10 and establishing a commission are not competing ideas. They reinforce each other. Lastly, I want to quickly address a concern that some of you on this commission might have. Maybe some of you are worried that
Thank you, Tather. Next is Carolina.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Carolina Goodman, League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles. At long last, we finally come to the point where the Charter Commission proves its mettle. It's okay to hesitate when it comes to policing reform. Doing the right thing is often scary. But as Lyric said earlier, be courageous. Creating a new commission to study and make recommendations is not the right thing. Deliberating on the 13 recommendations proposed in the staff report is the right thing. The people of Los Angeles deserve a government that demonstrates their commitment to public safety by City Council drafting charter amendments for policing reform for the November ballot. Please read the written comment from the League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles. I'm not going to take the time to reiterate our priorities here because you need to hear from many more people in the queue. Thank you in advance for including police reform in your final report to City Council.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to make it clear that everything we consider today is just going to reduce harm. The best way to eliminate harm is to get rid of the system altogether. What this is going to do is maybe put some accountability on the department, but of course, what you're wanting to do is delay it even more with this other commission. So we're probably looking at charter reforms going into what, the 2028 ballot now or something, when, you know, we have a department right now, LAPD, that is completely out of control. Their leadership seems to think they're invincible or something. Like they know that they will, and it's probably true to some degree right now, because they know they will never be held accountable. Police commission will never hold them accountable. City council will never hold them accountable. Mayor will never hold them accountable. They just do whatever they want, and they get more money every single year. And you know, I actually go to these police commission meetings almost every week, and what I see is a commission that is completely uninterested in doing any reform whatsoever. They're just, you know, they pretty much completely disrespectful of the public. They rubber stamp everything every week. No one is ever held accountable by them. It's the same cycle no matter who's on the commission, no matter who's mayor, no matter what year it is. It's been the same thing for years.
Thank you so much. After Andrew is Griselda, Solomon, and Tiffany. Griselda, Solomon, Tiffany. Griselda, please come up. Go.
Pardon me. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Griselda Diaz. I live in South Los Angeles, and I'm an activist born and raised in the city of Los Angeles. Los Angeles taxpayers deserve transparency, accountability, and community control in policing. Under the Los Angeles City Charter Section 571, the Board of Police Commissioners oversees LAPD, but the commissioners are appointed, not elected. Sections 500 to 503 of the Charter establish how city commissions are structured and appointed. I support amending these sections to either abolish the current structure or replace it with either a community elected oversight body or having the LAPD report directly to the mayor and the city council. Second, the police discipline system under the LA City Charter Section 1070 must be reformed. Officers who are committing misconduct should carry professional liability insurance, so civil settlements are not paid by taxpayers. Thirdly, financial oversight must be real. Under the LA City Charter Section 261, the city controller already has the authority to audit every dollar spent on city departments, inclusive of the LAPD. Last year, the LAPD spent over $265 million on overtime alone, illustrating exactly why audits are necessary. When those audits uncover misuse of taxpayer funds, the city should not just document it, it should recover those funds and hold individuals accountable for that misuse. Finally, LAPD officers should live in Los Angeles County or within 30 miles of their assigned station, so they are part of the communities they police. Accountability builds trust.
Solomon is next. Solomon.
Afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I don't have anything prepared. I came here in show of support, and I thought that was just a sign of sheep for yeses. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon. Tiffany. Last speaker, yeah. Tiffany.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Tiffany Quarles. I'm with the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project. I'm here also to advocate for Black Angelenos who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. I'm here today to strongly urge you to vote yes on item number 4. First of all, I want to thank you so much for including this motion. It's the proposal to explore a Freedmen's Bureau-style framework here in Los Angeles. I'm a fourth generation Angeleno. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. Both sides of my family came to Los Angeles in the early 1940s, where they were coming here to escape Jim Crow. What they found in Los Angeles was another style of Jim Crow, and I've watched my community be subject to injustice after injustice after injustice. So many promises have been made to us and been broken. This motion is about the city of Los Angeles finally taking a step towards justice for Black Americans who built this country. We have never gotten justice. We've never gotten reparations. It is time for this nation to reckon what is done to us. In this city, you have an opportunity to do the right thing. So please vote yes on motion number 4. And please also consider the other motions that we have submitted. We submitted a total of 5. One which includes recognizing lineage as a foundational principle in the charter. Race as a concept, we are no longer adhering to that. We want to be recognized as a lineage, which is constitutional and will allow specific policies be written for our community for justice.
Thank you so much. Carolyn Desa and Conrad. Carolyn Desa and Conrad, please come on down. Carolyn, go.
Greetings and salutations, commissioners. My name is Carolyn Essex. I am a Los Angeles County resident, and I am a descendant of people who were enslaved and subjected to chattel slavery, as well as the state-inflicted harms and laws imposed during the aftermath of their emancipation. I am here today to strongly urge the Los Angeles Charter Reform Commission to vote yes on item number 4. I want to thank you for including this motion and on today's agenda, and I am in strong support of the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project and the proposal to explore a Freedmen's Bureau-style framework here in Los Angeles. For the direct descendants of American chattel slavery, redress and legal remedies were never fully realized. This motion is about finally taking those unfinished responsibilities seriously. I also encourage the Commission to move forward on the other lead motions that seek to address historic atrocities and the disparities that followed, including the proposal to recognize descendant lineage as a foundational principle within the Los Angeles City Charter. The state of California has already set a precedent through the California Reparations Task Force, which documented the unique harms inflicted on the descendants of American chattel slavery and affirmed the need for targeted repair. Please vote in the affirmative.
Thank you so much, Desa.
Be courageous and act in
Thank
pursuit
you.
of justice. Thank you.
I too came here just in support of Police Commission, but my son here, he would let me leave without publicly speaking. So my public comment is to just offer my strong support for police reform. It's extremely important. I too go to the Police Commission meetings almost every Tuesday, and they are a joke. We are disrespected. They do not give us enough time to speak, and I don't see them doing anything in effort to what we ask them to do and look at. We don't have any of our concerns addressed, and I just don't see it happening. If that's the only way we're going to get any reform, it's not going to happen. We need to put something in place into our charter. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Conrad. After Conrad is Kay, Heath, and Rob. Kay, Heath, and Rob are after Conrad. Go.
Hello again, Commissioners. Conrad Starr, Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council, but speaking as an individual. First, thank you so much for the care and consideration the other night. Neighborhood Council Charter Reform items. I am grateful. There is one item that certainly remains, and that is in a CIS from the Palms Neighborhood Council that my colleague Kay Hartman will speak to momentarily, and that is Neighborhood Council elections. You have heard that the city clerk has requested that the budget be reduced by eliminating the 2027 Neighborhood Council elections. We are an administrative burden to the city clerk. They save considerable staff time by reducing and eliminating anything that is tied to neighborhood councils. Is it important to preserve the neighborhood council system? Is it a wonderful outreach opportunity and a means to attracting the types of people who are maybe not currently serving on neighborhood councils when we have a citywide election for new neighborhood council members? It's the time that we do most of our outreach to the neighborhoods that we don't currently see represented on our boards, and the individuals who have maybe just reached the age where they can even serve on our boards. So please give consideration to that CIS, like my board will be doing next Wednesday, that might result in a CIS to this body. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. Kay, come on down. Go.
Yes, I'll talk about that later when we do CISs. Now I want to talk about LAPD. Something has to be done. They are actually destroying the city. The liability payouts for fiscal year 2024-2025, the last full fiscal year, so it's the data we have, was $281,044,718. First reaction might be that it's all related to shootings. It is not, but $68,178,790 are. That's 24% of the payouts are due to excessive force. The remaining 76% is other stuff, such as $20 million for employment issues like harassment and $37 million for traffic collisions. What is our process for relieving officers of their duty? Why are these sworn officers allowed to create problems in the station house and get away with it? These are some of the issues that the political class is unwilling to solve, and it costs us in lives and treasure. The Charter Reform Commission needs to step in. We are the only hope we have. You need to act now. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Heath Klein, that angry, dangerous old man from the Valley, here to speak to you today with my colleagues and the council staff. Uplifted most of what I wanted to say, so I don't want to repeat that. So I want to touch on just a couple of other things that haven't been mentioned. One is LAPD treats the press horribly. There needs to be reforms in that way too, and that is another source of payouts and liability. So we need to fix that, obviously changes to the discipline and so forth, and I'm sure it's going to come up in the debate. Look, the LAPD is at low numbers and we can't fill the classes. Well, maybe if we could change the culture in the stations, it would be easier to recruit a new crop of dedicated officers that would uphold the responsibilities of their oath. But I can't go away with saying, since you didn't see fit to fund the neighborhood councils because you couldn't find the money, just one of these lawsuits was everything we were asking for. So I hope you'll bring about that reform so that you can bring back a motion to give us the funding that we see.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
Rob Vaughn, I do have a handout, my non-executive director's report. There is one update. We do actually have a law firm that we've hired. It's not in the ED's report, but Manat Phelps Phillips, just so happens to be where George Kiefer works. Moving on to policy, I do find it interesting that last week Chair Mesa spoke out against giving unelected ethics commissioners power to send ethics reforms to the ballot, but has no problem with a system where unelected police commissioners have legislative powers that our elected council members do not. We have elected officials asking for these reforms, and some of our unelected commissioners think it's their place to block that conversation. Just yesterday, the Rules Committee was approving a resolution asking the state to pass a law regarding the cooperation with ICE. That law is not something our local elected officials can pass. Why does it make sense for state representatives who don't live in LA to have more power than our locally elected council members? We shouldn't be surprised we have a lawless police force when our elected officials can't pass laws to regulate it. This is undemocratic, and I would say even fascist system that places LAPD political appointees above democratically elected political officials. Don't even think of comparing LAPD to DWP, LAWA, the ports, or the zoo. Those departments don't kill, profile, brutalize people, or cause hundreds of millions in liabilities, or absorb the biggest share of our general fund. You know who's in the White House and the number of world events being shoved down our city's throats over the next 3 years. We can't wait for
Thank you so
3 more
much.
years to
Next
actually
up
address
is
this problem.
Chris, Nicholas, and Jeremy. Chris, Nicholas, Jeremy, please come on down.
Is there a hand? Oh, okay, thank you. Make sure we.
Chris, go.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for hearing my comment. My name is Chris Herron, and I am a resident of Los Angeles and a taxpayer. As I'm sure you're aware, the taxes in the city are not insignificant, so I'm here to make sure they are spent appropriately and to express my democratic concerns. I urge you all to support items 10 and 12 proposed before you. Having oversight mechanisms over LAPD is necessary to preserve the future of this city. We are currently in the midst of a budgetary crisis in Los Angeles, and the LAPD is the single biggest contributor to this crisis, both through liability and through their budget. In a time where violent crime is historically trending downwards and violent actions by officers is still trending upwards, we must create mechanisms for democratic pushback on this department and allow our democratically elected officials to make decisions, not unelected police officers. I urge you to meet the moment and ensure that our democratic process has the roadmap to function in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Good evening, Commissioners. You know, these past 8 months are not just a period of time that we'll remember fondly, but I like to think of it as a chapter in all of our lives. Yours very strongly, and mine just have the pleasure to be here with you. And I could tell you about the statistics, about the moral reasoning behind why we should take action to recommend real reform now, as opposed to hunting it with a Christopher Commission, which I should mention that the 1991 Christopher Commission had 10 times as much money, 10 times as much time, and 10 times as much public attention, and still didn't really do anything. But we have the ability to do something now. And to that event, doing something now leads to a more pathos reason why I come here. It's to have all of the reforms that have been worked on these past 8 months actually mean something, be remembered for something. Give the people that will donate their time after this commission concludes to getting the public to vote yes on these reforms, give us something to work with that the public is asking for. The amount of people that come here asking for police reform is dwarfs every other topic in terms of public engagement. Moreover, the things that are being asked for are not humongous. It is being asked to have the police department operate in some semblance of similarity to every other department. To have the ability for city council to
Thank you so much,
modify
Jeremy. Come on down.
Hi there, can you hear me? I'm kind of always confused about the height. Alright. Jeremy Payne, I'm here to speak on the letter submitted by RLA Coalition. So on behalf of the RLA Coalition, I'm here to voice our support for police reform that substantively addresses the lack of accountability and oversight of the Los Angeles Police Department. We also advise the Commission not to support the proposed Christopher-style commission for the following reasons. A Christopher-style commission does not reflect the testimonies and recommendations provided by community residents, subject matter experts, or government officials elected by the people of LA. It also does not provide timely solutions to the ongoing harm experienced by low-income system-impacted communities of color in LA. The RLA Coalition urges the Commission to work together to support as many of the 13 original recommendations from the Personnel and Budget Subcommittee as possible. And we believe that the most capable and effective reforms for strengthening police accountability and oversight are giving the mayor and city council more direct power over the LAPD and allowing the chief of police to remove officers with repeated histories of harm. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Next three, Thaddean, let's see, Baba Gregg, and Raymond Delgado, it looks like.
My name is Tandiwe Abdullah.
Before I begin, I just want to say a lot gets lost in these city halls. I work with families who've lost their loved ones. I work with families who it's been 10 years since the police have unjustly killed their children, their relatives, and they're still not over it. You can't take back those actions, and the lack of action from this city, it's honestly despicable. All of these deaths are preventable. They did not die of natural causes. They died because people who are supposed to protect and serve them did not see their humanity. So I just want to recognize those folks' humanity. They're largely Black and brown people. LAPD is still one of the most murderous police forces in the nation, and that is an issue that needs to be taken very seriously. So I hope that you give all of the recommendations from folks here today some serious thought and treat it with the seriousness that this deserves. We want City Council and the Mayor to have the authority to override the decisions made by the Police Commission and the Tribunal to fire and discipline LAPD officers. There needs to be a more direct system to discipline these officers. We have documentation of LAPD gangs. More documentation of LAPD gang activity was just released in the past
Thank you so much.
My name's Akili, Baba Akili, and I'm with Black Lives Matter. And the first one to say we want to support the Freedmen's Bureau. That is California. It's already been passed at the state level. To do it at the local level would make it more meaningful. The second thing we want to address is police reform. But we want to focus it on two areas, transparency and accountability. First, the police commission is borderline useless. And the only reason I say borderline because there may be some use down the road somewhere. It needs to be, first of all, expanded. It needs community representation, not just political representation. And then finally, we need to be able, for the transparency part, but we also need to be able to hold them accountable. We just heard people make reference to the budget. They get almost 54% of the budget. And a lot of that goes to paying off lawsuits because there's no accountability. If there were more accountability that came from both the political side and the commission side, they would not be known to be abusive. They are not trusted, and the only way that trust, if there is any trust ever to be, is going to be if we expand the commission, if we put community representations on there of people who have lived experience with the police force and reform it. The police, the commission that
thank you so much, Ray.
Decided them was useless. Let's make real reform.
After Raymond is Esther, Aiden, and Johan. Esther, Aiden, Johan.
Since 2019, about $400 million has been spent on LAPD lawsuit settlements. Currently, Los Angeles City finds itself in $1 billion deficit. We're about 40 people here. That's 40 numbers. I just gave you $1 billion for you to reform the city. That's $400 million that should have gone to public transportation, to sanitation, to make sure that our children are having the best lives that they should. That is it. I can speak from a moral standpoint as long as I want, but the numbers are right there. And instead of holding the LAPD accountable, no one can. We expect a department that has failed to hold itself accountable for decades, to hold itself accountable by the moment you guys vote. That's ridiculous. That is willful ignorance. Why can't the city council or the mayor hold them accountable? That is basic government. Yet here we stand in a deficit, and the only ones who are here to pay are ourselves. A child in South Central should not have to fear the sight of an LAPD patrol car. They should see it as a sign of security. Instead, they are left to fend for themselves, while a child in Brentwood has all the...
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
frustration in this room. I'm Esther Lim. I'm the president of the Korean American Democratic Committee. I'm also a 20-year plus justice reform and law enforcement accountability advocate. KDC strongly advocates for the inclusion of police reform into the city charter. As shared in previous testimony, we the taxpayers have to pay out millions of dollars due to LAPD's misconduct, harm, and death inflicted on us, the community. These are precious dollars that should go towards safety net services, not to pay judgment damages for LAPD's inability to keep us safe or maintain peace. We need an independent body with teeth to make recommendations and to implement them, to budget LAPD's judgment damages to come out of its own budget instead of out of the city's general fund, to tie accountability and evaluations to LAPD's budget requests, and strong and immediate corrective action and discipline following harm. KDC demands real accountability and real reform. It's bare minimum. It's what we, the taxpayers and LA residents, deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Aiden, Johan, and then I think the last one, Ray, I know you wanted to speak. I didn't get you on the list, but you'll be last. Go.
Hi, I'm Aiden. I pay close attention to the things that the LAPD Police Commission does. I go to their meeting every week, and the Board of Police Commissioners may as well not exist. As other speakers have mentioned, they're essentially just a rubber stamp body that exists as a blow-off measure between the public and the LAPD. They're all former FBI agents, former prosecutors, former cops. There's miscellaneous other people on the council. But what matters is that at the end of the day, those commissioners walk through the same door that the cops walk through. They do not represent the people, and this city needs many things. It needs the abolition of police, it needs better systems to support the things that we all care about, safety, etc. The police are not that, they'll never be that, and the police commission exists only to silence and absorb shock for the system. So I encourage you to think of something better and stop funding it. If you need money, stop paying the police commission because they don't do a fucking thing. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Johan. Please vote in support or in favor of keeping LAPD accountable. I know as a taxpayer, it's very frustrating when we hear department chairs or elected officials saying we don't have money for this, or we don't have money for potholes, streetlights, sidewalks, but yet there's money to pay off these multi-million-dollar lawsuits. And I think that is not great for constituents, for people that vote for electeds and whatnot. So please vote for LAPD accountability because I'm tired of paying for, respectfully, their fuck-ups.
Thank you. Ray last.
Friends, my name is Reverend Ray Wong, and I'm a community organizer and a pastor and a mother of 2 girls here in Los Angeles. I'm not going to go into the details of the recommendations because you know what they are. You've heard from our Angelinos right here. You've heard of their passion and their fury, their frustration and their sorrow. But I am going to remind us that we are in a very unique moment in history today. You can feel the palpable fear and frustration in the room, in our city, and in our country. We are in this moment hurting, but I also have an extraordinary amount of hope for this council, this commission right here, because we have not been able to change what we need. And before you, you have the opportunity, a hand in history, to actually make things better for every Angelino, for those who are crying out. And so I have hope because the recommendations don't just come from here in this room, they come from Los Angeles. They come from hundreds who have come together to come up with these recommendations. These are thought through, these are powerful, these are compassionate, and this is democracy. I hope you can listen to our calls and invitation to step up in this moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are now going to transition into virtual public comment. Folks online, please be prepared. I'm going to call 3 names so you'll know when you're coming up. 1.5 minutes per speaker. Currently we have 16 folks signed up. Angela, Eric, Jared. Angela, Eric, Jared, you are the first 3. Angela, we are taking you off of mute. Angela, can you hear us? Angela?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Angela Shepard, and I strongly urge you to vote yes on item number 4. Thank you so much for including this motion proposed by the Lineage, Equity, and Advancement Project. The promises made to Black descendants of American slavery post-emancipation were never fulfilled. Item number 4 addresses those unfulfilled responsibilities. Reported hate crimes in Los Angeles are at near record highs, with Blacks being the most targeted, accounting for 51% of all racial hate crimes in 2024. Black residents are disproportionately unhoused, representing 31 to 34% of the unhoused Los Angeles population, despite being only 8 to 9% of the total population. Item number 4 is about finally taking the needs of Black Americans seriously. Please vote yes to explore a Grievance Bureau as well as the other important motions proposed by me. Thank you so much for your time, attention, and service.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Eric, we are taking you off of mute. Eric, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Hi, thank you so much to the commissioners, and shout out to Commissioner Fuentes for replying to the email. Really appreciate that. I just want to build off of what was said by Tapir earlier, and I want to address a concern that we've heard that there may not currently be enough votes on the City Council for some of these reforms to ultimately pass. I'd urge the Commission not to let that concern limit the scope of our recommendations, because the role, or your role in this process, is not to scale back proposals based on predictions about the current political landscape. Your role is to put forward the strongest, most thoughtful reforms that you believe will improve the city's governance and accountability for the people of LA. Charter reform is, by definition, a forward-looking exercise. It is meant to be visionary. The Commission should not be afraid to be bold in identifying what the charter should look like for the future of the city. Ultimately, it will be up to the City Council to determine what moves forward to the ballot, but the public deserves to see the Commission's best recommendations, not a narrower set, shaped primarily by assumptions about today's vote counts. And I just want to add a +1 to recommendation 10 and 12. Thank you.
Thank you. Jared is next. After Jared is Stacy, Lionel, and David. Stacy, Lionel, and David, please be prepared to be next. Jared, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, go.
Okay, my name is Jared. I live in LA County, and I'm a member of RLA Coalition and a New Way of Life Reentry Project. I ask that the Commission vote no on the Christopher-style commission and instead vote yes on 2 police reform recommendations that, 1, give the mayor and city council more direct authority over the LAPD, potentially equal to or greater than the police commission, and 2, allow the chief to fire officers for serious misconduct. Los Angeles has a democracy problem when it comes to policing. Because of how the city charter was written, our elected leaders have no direct authority over how LAPD operates, and that's not okay. When a department that has been found liable for taking constituent life after life is the least democratically accountable arm of city government, there is a massive problem, but it can be fixed through the charter reform process. Some commissioners have recommended creating another Christopher-style commission to study police and peer through reality. The studies have already been done repeatedly over decades of police misconduct. Studies are not reform. Your role is to pursue reform. Even if a new body produced throughout recommendations, those recommendations would still have to return to a charter process. Justice delayed is justice denied. My name is Jared James, and I'm here with all of us in the Way of Life. Thank you for your time.
Executive Director, just for the minutes, I would like to note that Commissioner Yap has arrived. Commissioner Yap, do you have any ex parte disclosures?
I do not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy, you're off of mute. Stacy, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Great. I want to agree with what my comrades Andrew Gravener and Kay Hartman said about the LAPD. Someone else had mentioned that it would be just as good if we had no commission versus the commission we have, but I want to say actually having the commission is worse than having no commission at all, because one thing the city loves to do is put together a commission or a council for some stated purpose, and then they hold it up as evidence of accountability or reform, when in reality, almost every single time, those councils and commissions are either useless or they're worse, they're rubber stamp bodies for the very entities and agencies that they're supposed to be holding accountable. And I think something similar could even be said for this commission. Aside from liability payouts should be coming from their department, not from the general fund, not from the taxpayer, but also from the salaries of the employees who are the reason for these payouts. They should also be held criminally liable. The LAPD has immense power, immense corruption, and it's literally killing us and it's oppressing us. And the mayor in particular doesn't want to acknowledge it. She's been asked repeatedly by people injured in demonstrations recently to fire the police chief.
Thank you, Stacy. Lionel, we are taking you off of mute. Lionel, can you hear us? Lionel?
Yes.
Go.
Yes, Lionel Morris. I'd like to thank Stacy and Bob Kwong for the lovely comments. The Los Angeles Police Department is currently facing a series of developments that raise significant concerns regarding the city's systems of accountability, transparency, and civilian oversight. The volume and nature of ongoing litigation against the department, including cases alleging excessive force, failures to properly investigate misconduct, and deficiencies in the handling of citizen complaints, reflect long-standing structural challenges that have not been adequately addressed through existing policies or internal reforms. These patterns continue to erode public confidence in the city's ability to ensure consistent and transparent policing practices. I urge this commission to reform the department because it is unfair to many Angelinos and to other city employees from other departments that are underfunded, under-resourced, that they have to work double time, overtime, they're overstressed, while the LAPD has the largest budget. It's not fair to the civilian workers and to all Angelinos. We pay taxes, we demand services, we demand accountability and transparency. Please hear our voices. Thank you, because we care about our city, we care about our neighbors, we care about our people. I yield my time, my friend.
Thank you. David, you're next. After David is going to be Jen, Amy, and Jamie. Jen, Amy, and Jamie after David. David, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'd like to just oppose a Christopher style commission because the fact that many of the recommendations that are before you right now were from the last commission to impanel another commission to make the same recommendation 35 years later is genuinely so infuriating. I'm struggling to stay calm about it. That this almost feels like a kangaroo court, that we're all here saying the most obvious things that are not being heard by our government. That the department that has the significantly largest share of our city revenue, it has no direct accountability for constituents and voters. It is genuinely insane, and I don't know how a better way to put that. And to continue what one of the other women were saying earlier, I saw in an incident report that an officer, it was confirmed that an officer was engaging in gang activity while on duty. No consequences, no real investigation. We can't do anything about it. Our elected officials can't do anything about it. It's borderline criminal what's been happening in our city. I yield the rest of my time. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm David Hill. I'm a taxpayer, LA resident.
Thank you, David. Jen, we are taking you off of mute. Jen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Go.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, City Council members. As a citizen of LA, I'm requesting that you move to clarify and strengthen the City Council's authority to provide policy-level oversight and direction over the LAPD. Also clarify the authority of the Chief of Police, consistent with due process, applicable laws, to initiate and pursue the removal of dangerous officers with documented violence and a pattern of misconduct. Lastly, please mandate regular data-driven reviews of LAPD equipment and deployment plans. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Amy. Jamie, after Jamie, we have Kim, LaShawn, and Mr. Feist. Kim, LaShawn, and Mr. Feist. Jamie, can you hear us?
Oh, Amy, but yes.
Oh, sorry, Amy. Amy, then Jamie. I skipped.
I hope we spend no more than 5 minutes on the first agenda item, because because there is only one acceptable motion, to dismiss it entirely. The Budget and Personnel Committee spent a lot of time on police accountability. They heard from advocates, the Police Commission, the Inspector General, and the Chief of Police. Their recommendations were not made in ignorance. This recommendation from the Ad Hoc Committee, however, was made in complete ignorance. The Ad Hoc chair even said he did not have enough information and was too ignorant to make a decision. So he replaced all recommendations with something that we've already done and didn't work, a Christopher Commission. We do not need a new commission to tell us what we already know. LAPD protects racists, rapists, and murderers in their own ranks. We need actual police accountability if you want to restore the public's trust in LAPD. One of the original recommendations was that we absolutely need is giving council authority over LAPD. As a survivor of domestic violence, I know firsthand that the police are useless. Your time is better spent talking about actual reform and establishing a local freedmen's bureau. Skip the first agenda item and talk about the reforms that were actually proposed by the Personnel and Budget Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Now Jamie. Jamie, can you hear us?
I can, and I have a CIS later. I don't want you to skip me for that, like the one time. Yeah?
Okay, go.
Okay. All right, so Justin, earlier I heard you say it was the best comment ever to the person that had no comment. So best memo ever, since there's no memo on the agenda with these reforms. I want to say that you should vote for the Christopher Commission if you are for wasting people's time, money, and goodwill. It didn't work the last time, so why would it work this time? I actually really love the Jubilee reforms that Mr. Thomas put forward. I think that they are rooted in the kind of world that I want to live in, and I think that that deserves care and consideration. I've always found it incredibly wild that council has virtually no control over LAPD. I've heard so many comments from this body about unelected officials being in charge of something, and yet we have the biggest department. We have 5 unelected commissioners that are in charge of it. How hypocritical, frankly. We need council to have control, and frankly, more control than the police commission. When I walk around this city and I see the things that are broken and crumbling and don't work, I don't just see them through that lens. I see them through the liabilities and the harm that has been caused. I see Lillian Carranza, the police officer who had her body photoshopped nude and passed around the police department. $4 million that we just had to spend on that. That's what I see when I see broken streetlights. But the thing that I've been thinking about a lot.
Thank you, Jamie. Kim is next. Kim, we're taking you off of mute. Kim, can you hear us? Kim?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Oh, okay, great. My name is Kim Owens, and I'm a resident of CD 13. I request the accountability for the LAPD that only protects and serves themselves. First, I'm not the first person, and I won't be the last, to say we need to end taxpayer footing the bill for LAPD liability lawsuits. Until they are made to pay out of their own pocket, they will continue to bankrupt this city. Next, officers must face real consequences, including discipline and termination by the chief of police for brutalizing and injuring peaceful protesters in the press, and for committing heinous crimes while we have to pay for their own legal defense. Next, we must hold LAPD personally accountable for violating SB 54, the sanctuary state law, using loopholes to collude with ICE and CBP. I'm personally exhausted by this. Despite Chief McDonald's defiance, there's plenty of evidence to this account, and it needs to stop. The city's charter needs to address this while empowering the city council with more oversight, not just the ineffective and indifferent police commissioners, to address waste, defiance of laws, secrecy, and lack of transparency. Thank you.
Thank you so much. LaShawn, we are taking you off of mute. Can you hear us?
I certainly can. Can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Okay, hi. My name is LaShawn again. I am a native-born LA resident and a volunteer with the Coalition of a Just and Equitable California. So, and I am calling to urge you to vote yes on item number 4. So now for years, the harms experienced by Black Americans in interactions with LAPD have been cited as a major reason for policy reform in Los Angeles. Those conversations recognize that history and systematic harm matters. If those harms are serious enough to drive reform discussion in a city like today, then they should also be serious enough to support policies that directly address the historical harms experienced by my lineage, Black descendants of American slave freedom, who are the foundation. So that's why the Lineage Equity and Advancement Project, LEAP, and the idea of exploring the Freedmen's Bureau style framework here in Los Angeles are so important. I also encourage the Commission to continue advancing the other LEAP notions, including recognizing lineage as a foundational principle, in the Los Angeles City Charter. So again, please vote a heck yes on item number 4. Thank you, stay blessed and well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Feist. After Mr. Feist is Carlos, Jester, and Save. Carlos, Jester, and Save. All right, Mr. Feist, can you hear us?
Hi, is this for general or for like a specific item about that police?
Both.
Oh, okay. So,
Let's have it. Go.
Okay. The city's been shaken down. Other departments, including the neighborhood councils, who already got their budget cut down for money, when the police are racking up lawsuits all over the place. They've cost the city millions and millions and millions of dollars. People really don't know what else to say at this point, other than like you have to put the people in charge of the money at this point, and that's probably not going to happen. So the best case scenario we can do is have representatives that actually, have our interests in mind. And you've heard about the public advocate, but that seems kind of redundant considering that the city council members should be our public advocates. The police are refusing to enforce our basic rights, so we have to enforce them ourselves, and the city councilmen are our voice, and that's our way to have the police held accountable, is by giving the city council members some kind of power over them. And if the mayor's not going to remove the chief of police, then we should be able to do it. And that's the most direct way we can do it in a representative democracy, with whatever we have anyway. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Carlos is next. Carlos, we're taking you off of mute. Carlos, can you hear us? Carlos?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, go.
Okay, yes, this is Carlos Montes. I live in Ball Heights. I'm a member of Central CSO Community Service Organization, and we have a police accountability committee that advocates for community control of the police. We work with families where the Hollenbeck Police Station has killed young men 10 years ago, 2 teenagers, right? But overall, we believe that we have a systemic problem that we need community control over the police. In the meantime, the police commission needs to be elected by the community. The city council needs to have the power also over the police department and the police commission. So we advocate for real reform, real meaningful, transparent, democratic control of the police department. They continue to kill young Black men and young Chicanos. They're not held accountable. We advocate for prosecution of the police, and very rarely that they're held accountable. So please vote that anything that's on the agenda that's going to move forward the needle to more meaningful citizen control over the LAPD. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And Jester, can you hear us? Jester.
Yes, I can.
Go.
Awesome. Good evening to the Charter Reform Commission. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Chester Jersey, and I help run the Vote 16 California Porter County. Today I'm speaking as an individual on agenda items 1 and 2 on the Police Review Commission and Police Accountability Amendments. In the same way that this commission is overseeing the new direction Los Angeles will be taking, there should also be a police review transparency and policy body that promotes transparency through auditing mechanisms. Along that line, police reforms and accountability discussions should be considered. Police are among the first responders to address any emerging situations to keep the peace. In the same way that health practitioners are reviewed and certified by appropriate bodies before they can practice and during their careers, there should be ways to hold those in law enforcement who abuse power accountable. At a time when general trust in governance and authority is low, these reform ideas can help build trust with Angelinos, knowing that law enforcement works with them and for them. On a short general commentary, I want to thank the Commission for its vote last week on its recommendation to expand City Council and for its vote on ranked choice voting. Thank you again for your work and consideration.
Thank you, Jester. The next three are Save Charter, I'm guessing that's not the real name, Anne-Marie and Elizabeth. Save Charter, Anne-Marie, and Elizabeth. Save Charter, can you hear us?
Yes, I am remaining anonymous, but I'm here to echo the needs of my community and my own needs for making the police accountable for the monopoly on violence that we continue to have on working class taxpayers. I want to remain anonymous because I've personally been brutalized by PD for engaging in constitutionally protected protests. We are asking you for stronger oversight. This is unacceptable. I have no way of holding them accountable or anybody that's been afflicted during protests. And they investigate themselves. This is unacceptable. We ask for stronger protest protections and that LAPD be required to settle their own lawsuits within their own budget and stop using our much needed taxpayers' dollars for their own mess ups, their own fuck ups. And additionally, we all need those social services, and if more focus was given to social services, there would be a reduction in crime. So I ask that my injuries be accounted for, and I ask for all of our speakers today to be heard, and I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you so much. Anne-Marie, you're coming off of mute now. Anne-Marie, can you hear us? Anne-Marie? Anne-Marie?
Yes, can you hear me? Hello, commissioners.
Go.
What an exciting, amazing opportunity you have in front of you. And I gotta say, I just want to quote Commissioner Michael Yap last week, who said, "Be bold." And I really encourage all of you right now to be bold. There was so much talk last week of anticipating what the city council members will accept. And really, you are here to listen to the people. And we're asking you, please be bold. The people have spoken. 7 years ago, I was knocking on doors, talking to my neighbors about Measure R, to have sheriff, oversight commission. People came out and they voted and it passed and we got it. And guess what happened? The first time our sheriff, Villanueva, was subpoenaed, he just said no, he didn't come. He ignored it and nothing happened because they hold all the power. People are upset, they're upset with the mayor, but there's nothing they can do. But right now, you have an amazing opportunity. You get to shift. You get to be a part of history in shifting the power dynamic in LA. And to quote another commissioner last week who said, "I'm having a hard time with my imagination here." And I ask all of you, please dig deep. I think you can use your imagination and imagine a future where we look back to this moment and people are applauding you, all of you, for being bold, for bringing all of these recommendations, for speaking up for the people, and not worrying about anticipating what the council members accept. Because you know what? If they don't
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Elizabeth is next. After Elizabeth, I think is Chantel. But Chantel, if you're in the room, you can also speak in the room. Alrighty, Elizabeth, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Alrighty, go.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm one of the people who I've been to the last, I think, 5 LAPD police commission meetings, and it is a joke, but everyone's already talked about that. And then I do also want to echo the last speaker to say that this is such a huge opportunity to actually make real change. I was recently watching a film about the Watts Uprising in 1955 and the McCone Commission, and all the research is there. All the research is there. It's already been done. We know what has to be changed. We have to stop giving the police more money and more weapons. So that's it's all there. People can just go and look at that. And then I also wanted to read something from the LAPD Protective League podcast, which is hosted by Dave Abdalian, who I think is a current officer. But officers themselves, they're saying that they lack education, okay? So this is a quote from that. A lawyer goes to school for 4 years, and then another 3 years, and then he has to study additionally to pass the bar. Yeah, we're expected to be lawyers out in the field. We're expected to interpret law, contract law, civil law, constitutional law with only 6 months in the academy. It's actually, when you really think about the training that we get and the job that we have to do, it's very lacking. These guys they don't have the education.
Thank you so much. Chantel, are you on, or you're in the room? Yeah, go ahead, come on in.
Good evening, Commissioners. Some people point to the Christopher Commission and argue that real police reform requires special investigations outside of charter reform. I see it different. The Christopher Commission focuses on misconduct and accountability in a specific moment. What this Charter Reform Commission can do is even more structural. You can build transparency and measurement directly into the city's governing framework. Today, we also have stronger data and science about how chronic stress, trauma, and community conditions affect both public safety and public health. So Reform today should ask a simple question. If public dollars are invested in safety, are we measuring the outcome? Charter reform can require independent auditing authority, regular public reportings, and measurable safety outcomes tied to public spending. In other words, if we invest, we measure. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our list. Was there anyone else in the room that didn't get a chance to sign up? Once, twice? Okay. That concludes public comment.
We now move on to Neighborhood Council approved community impact statements. Are there any in the room? All right, we have one in the room, and I know of at least one online. So let's start within the room, please. You'll have 5 minutes.
If you're online and you have a community impact statement, please raise your hand. And if you don't, please lower your hand. I think there might just be one. Okay, perfect.
Hello, Kay Hartman from the Palms Neighborhood Council. First of all, the Neighborhood Council would like to thank the commissioners for all that you did for the neighborhood councils at the city and the City of Los Angeles at Tuesday's meeting. We are grateful. We have another neighborhood council issue that came up after the link recommendations were made that we would like you to consider. The Palms Neighborhood Council urges the Charter Reform Commission to add neighborhood council elections to the charter. In their fiscal year 2026 to 2027 budget request, the Office of the City Clerk is proposing taking $915,000 that should be used for electing, for our elections and canceling them and using the money to balance their budget. Elections are and must remain sacred. In the middle of the Civil War, Lincoln's advisors pushed him to cancel the 1864 election. Lincoln's response was, quote, "We cannot have free government without elections," end quote. If Lincoln could not be persuaded to cancel an election at the time of the Civil War. The city must also not cancel an election because the budget is tight. The city clerk made no attempt to find another solution. They did not meet with the neighborhood councils. They did not meet with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. In fact, they didn't even inform the department that they were submitting this in their budget. The charter specifies elections every 4 years for the mayor, controller, city attorney, and city council. Nobody would consider canceling these elections. Why is it okay to cancel the neighborhood council elections? If the neighborhood council elections are in the charter, it makes the elections a requirement. Neighborhood council elections and selections happen every 2 years, although not every seat is up for election or selection every 2 years. Some neighborhood councils have 4-year terms and run half the seats in 1 year and the other half in the other, while many neighborhood councils turn their boards over every 2 years. The charter should not dictate a term for the neighborhood councils. It should dictate elections and selections every 2 years. The charter should state, neighborhood councils' terms are set in their bylaws, and there are elections and/or selections every 2 years. If the Charter Reform Commission supports democracy, it will support this charter change. Just want to bring up one other thing from the staff report from Tuesday. One of the items that did not get moved was item 16. I would like you to think about that. So item 16 was during budget challenges, the percentage of neighborhood council budget reduction shall not be greater than the office of the mayor. When the mayor's office budget is restored after the budget challenge, the neighborhood council budgets are similarly restored. This is how the neighborhood councils wound up in the budget situation they are. We had the Great Recession, and neighborhood council budgets were cut from $50,000 to $42,000. Then, everybody else was cut also. When everybody else was restored, the neighborhood councils were not restored, right? And then we had COVID, and the neighborhood council budgets were cut again. And when every other department was restored, the neighborhood council budgets were not restored. And then we have the budget crisis we're in now. Every department's taking a cut. The neighborhood council budgets are not restored when everybody else is restored, leaving us in a position with less and less and less money. Over time, it's an interest of fairness. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have the one online. We're taking you off of mute. 1 second. Just get back to the laptop. Those 2 shakes. Okay, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yep. Go.
All right. The Rashida Neighborhood Council opposes a Christopher Commission 2.0. We do not believe this motion meets the urgency of the moment or public demand for accountability. We believe the creation of yet another commission would just be another delay on the needed road to reform and accountability. We agree with Commissioner Murray, who called the Christopher Commission fake. It's important to remember that the LAPD was placed on the federal consent decree after the Christopher Commission. The Rampart scandal happened after the Christopher Commission. Zero accountability occurred when LAPD blew up a South LA neighborhood by improperly disposing of fireworks after the Christopher Commission. Rookie LAPD officer Gabriel Espadas raped a woman that he had placed on a 5150 hold after the Christopher Commission. But perhaps worse, the Christopher Commission was intended to root out fraud from apples. But the LAPD did not move to decertify this rogue Travis with toast, and their failure to act has left multiple women open to continued abuse. Instead, we believe that the charter reform must address real and lasting reform. First, the council and mayor must have actual, realized power over the police. It is untenable to have a board of unelected commissioners have the only true authority over police policy. The council must be able to write ordinances. As such, Section 571 of the charter must be changed to read that the authority of the Board of Police Commissioners to issue such instructions shall not be exclusive and shall not supersede the authority of council to adopt ordinances governing the policies of the chief of the police and police department. In the event of a conflict between instructions issued by the Board of Police Commissioners and ordinances adopted by council, the ordinances of the council shall prevail. We urge you to create section 571C of the charter to add 4 additional seats to the police commission. These 4 additional seats shall be nominated as follows: 1 by the city council president, 1 by the city council president pro tem, 1 by the city controller, and 1 seat appointed by the public advocate that you should also create in a later meeting. Section 574 of the charter must be changed to improve public record disclosure. We must ensure that law enforcement records are made publicly available to the maximum extent allowed under California state law. In the instance of non-disclosure in response to public records requests, the burden of proof should be on the police chief to establish why the record in question should not be disclosed. We cannot have accountability without transparency. LAPD public records requests are notorious for their delay and failure to comply, despite having a media relations department more well-funded than our youth development department. We also need to address spiraling liability costs. Since 2020, the city has paid out nearly $1 billion in liability settlements, with the largest category being cases related to LAPD. Whether it's unabated sexual harassment or police chase crashes, the city quite simply cannot afford to do nothing. One way to strengthen the budget accountability is to require LAPD to pay legal settlements out of their own budgets, not the general fund. The general fund is the same fund that pays for key services and the maintenance of our communities, support for youth, parks, and more. The controller has reported that the LAPD has drained those funds, our funds, by almost $400 million over the last 5 years. Through the charter, we can move liability payments from the general fund to the department implicated in the harm. In Minneapolis, officials created a different type of deterrent. They inaugurated professional liability insurance, where the city covers the cost of basic insurance for each officer, but any premium increases due to misconduct would be the officer's responsibility. This both preserved important funds for community services, but it incentivized the police department and officers to stop practices that harm the public. To that end, alter section 574 and allow the chief of police to remove officers with repeated histories of harm. Too often, these problem officers are the direct driver of our spiraling legal liabilities. And lastly, more must be done to protect the First Amendment rights of all Angelenos. Please alter section 574 to ensure both the protection of the press and peaceful protest. Under subsection A of 574, include a provision to explicitly recognize and protect protest and uncouple its association with riots, disturbances, and breaches of the peace. And in 574, ensure the protection of First Amendment rights, including freedom of the press, and the powers and duties of the police chief should include a provision honoring First Amendment rights and the public's and journalists' right to document activities. That was passed unanimously by my neighborhood council in a special meeting that we held ahead of this meeting. Thank you very much.
I believe that concludes community impact statements.
Thank you. Commissioner Stein wishes to make a statement, and then we are going to take a 15-minute recess.
Fellow members of the commission, members of the public, for the past 6 months, Commissioner Thomas and I have tried to find a meeting of the minds where the two of us, the most conservative member of this group, and probably one of the most liberal members of the group, could find a path to police commission, to police reform or police accountability. We've done that. So what I would like to do is for Mr. Executive Director, if you would pass out to all the fellow commissioners the substitute motion, and then there will be a stack of copies of the substitute motion that any member of the audience can come up and pick up and look at during the 15 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is that to be posted online also?
Is it a substitute for which item?
Item 1.
Item 1. Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, if there is no objection, we'll be in recess until 6 p.m.
Can we make sure that's
All right,
posted
we're in
online?
recess. Thank you.
public. I'm going to reconvene the meeting and conduct roll call. Commissioner Andrade is
Here. Commissioner Fuentes.
Here.
Commissioner Levine. Present. Welcome. Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
Present.
Commissioner Mesa is present. Commissioner Murray. Present. Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein. Present. Commissioner Thomas. Present. Commissioner Yap. Here. Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Levine, do you have any ex parte disclosures?
No.
Thank you. All right, Commissioners, we now move to item number 1, consideration and possible approval of an ad hoc recommendation. I'm going to hand it to Commissioner Stein, and then we will have discussion. Commissioner Stein.
Thank you. I have one back with my colleague.
Yes.
I've got the city. Thank you, Chair Mesa. I guess now I get to prove that I can read my own motion, even though everybody has it already, but for the record. Commissioner Thomas and I want to offer a substitute motion from what is presently agendized today. And I would like to make the motion, and very much I would like Commissioner Thomas to have the opportunity to second that motion. 1, all references to a future Christopher Commission shall be deleted in its entirety. 2, I move that all council-approved motions and ordinances relating to police accountability shall be sent to the Board of Police Commissioners, the Chief of Police, and the Los Angeles Police Department, and must be agendized at a public meeting and voted on within 60 days of the council's adoption of the policy instruction or ordinance, or else it becomes law. 3, as a city policy and per the City of Los Angeles Charter, the police department must purchase liability insurance for each police officer in a sum of no less than $1 million, provided such insurance is available at a cost not exceeding $20 per officer. The cost of this insurance shall be indexed to the Los Angeles CPI annually as published by the United States Department of Labor Statistics. If an officer is found liable, or if a settlement is reached finding the city liable for the conduct of the officer, each policy of $1 million should be used for each settlement, judgment, etc., if applicable, and this sum would not be paid by the general fund. 4, clarify and strengthen the authority of the Chief of Police, consistent with due process and applicable laws, to initiate and pursue the removal of officers with documented repeated histories of harm or misconduct. In addition, the Chief of Police and the Board of Rights, if the Chief of Police and the Board of Rights concludes that an individual officer should not be terminated, the City Council shall have the power to override the non-firing of the officer in a way similar to the revised Charter Section 245E, which today is used obviously for land use. If Council concludes that the officer should be fired, that decision shall be final, subject to the terminated employee's right to file a lawsuit including injunctive relief, arbitration, or any other legal proceeding in his or her fight to be reinstated. 5, the commission shall forward to the city council all motions that were made by Commissioner Thomas, and I'm told that I can't put his name in it, but I'll just say should forward to the city council because I've checked with him, these are the motions. Regarding the Freedmen's Bureau, LEAP, Equity, Jubilee, etc., except the Black Workers Center, which will be on the commission's agenda next week. That would be my substituted motion. Is there a second?
I second. Commissioner Thomas.
I want to, this is kind of emotional for me. For several reasons. Number one, I'm thinking about my mother who was a sharecropper and what she had to endure and the loss of her twin child when they told her no N-word would be in the hospital for 24 hours as her child froze to death. And then I'm thinking of my father, his grandfather, who was lynched because they said no N-word would drive a new car before us. I'm also thinking about all of the times I've been in police commission and I've seen people arrested and drug out just because they wanted to share that they had been harmed and they wanted something done. And this is one of for the three mainstream kind of faith traditions, this is a holy time for us, for both Muslims, Christians, and Jews. And so what is foundational, I'm not, when I talk about Jubilee, I think it's important that I explain what that means. And I consider this what we've done to be a Jubilee motion, even though it's not named that. And I'm not calling it that because I am proselytizing. I'm looking at the Torah and the Bible as a literary text that brings up some foundational principles that I think we're able to use. And so I want to read this, and then I'm done. And I hope, I've gotten through, I think, the emotional part. But I also want to say before I say this, I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
This is a love fest here. I fight real hard.
An unlikely one, but yes it is.
I fight real hard, but I love real hard too. And so I just want to say to the commissioners, in front of everybody, that anything that I've said that has harmed you, several times, I deeply apologize for that. Deeply. But I also want to be clear that this process and bringing up these concerns have triggered me deeply. And so I had no choice. I had no choice. I have an obligation to God first, and then to my ancestors. And I believe that we can do this. I think we can have a better world. I believe that. And so I want to thank all of you all for coming out and supporting this. I mean, the over 200 letters. But I just want to read you what is foundational to me in terms of why Ted and I are attached to the hip. Whereas Leviticus 25 establishes the principle of Jubilee, a structured system of restoration in which debts are released, land was returned, generational burdens were interrupted, demonstrating that justice requires not only rules, but repair. And whereas the Jubilee principle reflects a broader civic truth, Freedom declared without restoration remains incomplete, and accountability without structural correction may result in symbolic accountability rather than transformation. And whereas modern governance systems often focus on procedural oversight, compliance mechanisms, and disciplinary structures as primary tools of accountability, and whereas oversight and transparency are necessary safeguards, but do not, standing alone, address the accumulated structural conditions that produce inequitable outcomes. And whereas sustainable public safety and institutional trust are strengthened when communities have access to stable housing, equitable employment opportunities, validated and job-related hiring systems, educational pathways, and economic mobility. And whereas a just civic framework requires both accountability mechanisms, structural restoration, to ensure that inequities do not compound across generations. Therefore, the Charter shall recognize the public accountability mechanisms. Oh, I'm sorry, it's wrong. I'm going to the end. Statement of principle. The Charter Reform Commission declares that freedom proclaimed must be matched by freedom realized. Accountability is strengthened when embedded within restored systems. Public safety is sustained not solely through enforcement, but through opportunity, stability, and equitable access to civic life. And that's, in my view, that's not just what Black people want. That's what all people want. And that's what government should represent. And what I'd like to say to my colleague Ted, who I think I beat up on the most, but he's tough, he can take it. When he said to me, James, you have helped me to understand the Black experience in ways that I never thought I would. I'm paraphrasing. In ways that I thought I never could. We just want to be heard. Poor people want to be heard. Marginalized people just want to be heard. And what this is an indication of, this commission, I can't speak for any other commission, I can't speak for city council, can't speak for the mayor, anybody else, but this commission has actually heard the people. And for that, I am eternally grateful. Thank you.
I have Commissioner Field and myself in the queue, Commissioner Murray in the queue. Commissioner Field.
I appreciate your apology. That's very important. You have indeed attacked some of us, all of us on the commission, and I do appreciate your thoughtfulness in apologizing. I'm going to talk longer than usual. I just wanted to let everybody know. First of all, I want to thank whoever made the sound work better in here. I hope I'm not the only one. It seemed much easier to hear public speakers tonight than it has been, which is a huge improvement. I do want to comment, believe it or not, I'm going to get to the motion, but I also want to say something that's been bothering me regarding neighborhood council. The whole idea that their elections might be canceled, and in fact, the elections, any of you, I don't know how many other commissioners tried to vote in the neighborhood council election. It's a nightmare. It's almost impossible. I would really like to see something on that. I don't know if it's charter, but interestingly, it might be a budget issue. Apparently, it has something to do with the budget of the neighborhood councils. And so I'm not sure the parliamentary procedure. I stand to be told by city attorney what I can and can't do. But I would like, and I forget the word. The word is reconsideration of the
Commissioner Field, at the end of the agenda, we can have that discussion.
Okay, I'll go back to the motion. I have a lot of detailed questions on the brand new motion that I just got this evening, and a few comments because it's been really interesting, and I do appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate that many of the advocacy groups kind of said, apparently, we can't get it all, let's focus on a couple critical reforms. And that was smart. You know, we haven't been able to do everything for everybody for many obvious reasons. But I kind of feel like, even though a lot of what's in this motion, and I will get more specific in a minute, seems to speak to the most top priority issues being brought to us by so many emails and speakers. But I think we might be able to do a little more. I mean, I really like, not in addition to what's here, and I need clarifications, I kind of would like to talk about, and maybe it's coming when we hear preamble, but I think it's really important that there be a statement of protection of people's constitutional rights to protest, and that a protest is not a riot. And again, I don't know where it's going to go. I heard a rumor that it might be in a preamble, but I don't want to forget about that. And similar to that, and I don't know if we ever even talked about it at the committee, I think we did. And I understand there's an increasing effort by the city, but I think it should be chartered. You know, when people are protesting peacefully, they really don't need a lot of heavily armed police right in their face. My understanding is some cities are experimenting with having them like a block away or around the corner and having much more like, you know, community-based peacekeepers. And I just feel like that is a really important concept, but again, it may not be for our charter. I just feel strongly we're missing some of the critical things we ought to be talking about police accountability. I wish it's not in tonight's motion. I don't know if I have support to change it or add it, I guess. I would like to really seriously talk about the commission, the police commission, and that it be larger, that the appointment powers be more diversified, not just the mayor, and that there be some criteria so that it represents more diverse views of policing. I don't know if I will be able to amend this because there's a lot more to talk about in this motion itself. Yeah.
This, all of, if those motions were in the 14 recommendations that were made, the 13, I'm sorry, 13 recommendations that were made, it is included in this motion, it's just not all spelled out. If you look at the bottom.
That was
your motion's not what's in your motions.
Oh, then that.
Oh, they're not all in it, James. No, this is, we're now only doing roughly what is compatible with or you know.
Well, that sounds like a friendly amendment to me.
Okay, well, okay, thank you.
And I would not recognize the friendly amendment because I would vote against many of those items.
No,
Yeah.
and interestingly,
Commissioners, just as a, what we can do is have discussion on the substitute motion. Item number 2 is a discussion to reopen all of the 13 recommendations.
wait, that's not the substitute.
That's item number 2 on the agenda.
But I thought we weren't voting on 2, that this new list kind of.
No, well, so the sequence of events here is we have a substitute motion for item number 1. We will have discussion, amendments, potential amendments, a vote on item number 1. Then we will move to item number 2.
Okay, so this is, in effect, just to be clear, the 5 points in front of us, which we just got, are really an alternative to item 1 only.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Then I want to speak to this alternative item 1. I just also want to clarify, and I will stand to be corrected, that anything we leave out, we have to remember the council, if they would vote, I think only a simple majority can put charter reform on the ballot without us. So stuff we don't get to, the next step for these phenomenal advocates is to push the council, right? I mean, just to remind me, and I think others, that we are not the end of the process. So on item 2, specific question, it's unclear to me from the wording that is in front of me when it says, I'll just kind of make the context, but the last section after the last comma, and voted on within 60 days, who? I don't understand who's voting on the count. The council has approved an ordinance or a motion regarding police accountability. And it shall be sent to the commissioners, the chief, and the department, and must be agendized at a public hearing of whom? Because of that list.
Of the Board of Police Commissioners.
Of the commissioners, okay, because the department, isn't having its own hearings and the chief isn't. Okay, and voted on within 60 days by whom?
The Board of
The commissioners, the police commissioners. Okay, meaning, and what I don't understand is, if the council passes something, why does it have to go back to the police commissioners? I mean, aren't they supposed to have given their input before the council votes? Honestly, I need help. I don't understand the sequence of
Commissioners feel because the council does currently not have that power over the commission. The council cannot pass instructions or ordinances relative to the police commission, and if they do, they can be completely ignored.
Okay, so this item 2 is to clean that up by saying that the commission must respond to the council somehow, and if they don't, the council's ordinance, in effect, it is pulling power back to the council. Is that accurate?
It is saying that if the council passes an ordinance or approve motions, that the commission will have to vote on it without modification within 60 days, otherwise it becomes law.
Okay. So again, my summation is power returns to our elected council from the commission. The power relationship changes. Okay. Number 3, I am very curious. For $1 million liability policy, the $20 just sounds not realistic. I don't know if any research was
That
done.
was, I typed it, so it's my fault. It's $20 per month. I don't know if that changes anything, but it's,
That's a big difference.
it's $240, and I multiplied that by 8,500, which obviously the chief doesn't need this insurance, and the deputy chiefs, and a lot of detectives. It would come out at its worst case scenario at 8,500 officers of approximately $2,020,000, I believe. Yeah, James and I calculated that.
I really appreciate the numbers, because I couldn't figure out how for $20 a year you're gonna get anybody $1 million of liability insurance, okay? And this would be funded through the police department budget, it doesn't?
Yes, it comes out of the police department budget. It does not come out of the officers.
Okay.
And it does not come out of the general fund.
Okay, thank you. And if an officer is found liable or settlement is reached, so as we all know, these settlements are typically in the multi-millions, horrifically multi-millions. So basically we're saying Officer X, the department's paying for his or her liability insurance. Officer X is accused of doing something very bad, and the city either settles with their, attorneys, or goes to trial, and the jury says, hey, pay out $10 million. So only the first $1 million is coming from their individual liability.
From that policy, that is correct.
I'm sorry. And the idea is this: officers who are really trying to do their job are not going to have it for simple mistakes and that kind of thing. No, it's not going to be $1 million lawsuit. And so, ultimately, this kind of separates those. And by giving the chief of police the authority to, that was a compromise. You need to compromise on this other thing, because I compromise on that.
You talked this out, I compromised on this long ago.
ability to fire, the ability to fire police officers gets rid of those who have the greatest liability.
No, well, that's item 4, and I'm getting to my questions.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to be sure I understand the cost and how much it really buys, and as Commissioner Thomas has just said, and I'm coming to item 4, that theoretically long-term, with number 4, with the ability to fire those who are particularly repeated offenders, that eventually those liability things will go down. Okay, thank you. All right, so I think I got my questions. Again, I appreciate the patience of my colleagues. I don't vote on stuff without understanding it.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, I just said, I'm sorry, I'm taking more time than I usually do, but I want to understand what I'm voting on. So number 4.
Commissioner Fields, it helps you, and it took us 6 months to do this. So if you can't understand it right away, there's no problem in the world.
Well, especially with a typo that has a substantial financial impact, but that's okay, you did a great job. Okay, the 2 of you. Clarify and strengthen the authority of the chief, consistent with blah, 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 blah. Okay, in addition, I'm looking at second sentence, item 4, and I hope the audience has copies, because this is otherwise going to be crazy confusing. It says, if the chief of police and the Board of Rights concludes. Should that be or?
The problem is, under the charter as it stands now, the Board of Rights is really the final decision maker, rather than the chief of police.
Right, okay.
And that is the reason we chose to put in both with the word and. We could have a whole other discussion of what should constitute the Board of Rights and who should be on the Board of Rights, but that wasn't within what we were trying to accomplish.
Okay, so, all right, but in theory, if this stuff goes to the voters, if it goes to the voters, if it passes here, it goes to the council, and goes to the voters, the chief would have a separate power.
That is correct.
In effect, overruling the Board of Rights.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, I'm checking, folks. I want to understand what I vote on. Okay, the council should have power to override. Couple questions. I need a refresher on what section 245 says about land use. Could someone, one of the 2 of you explain that?
Thank you. That is, the city council has a very unique power with land use to override planning commission decisions. And so what this body did is amend that slightly so the city council still has the power, but it has to go back to the planning commission for final determination if there's an issue.
Oh.
So they're just making a reference. They're just
No, I understand. And thank you for explaining, but I just want to be sure, because you're saying the planning commission says X, city council says no X, and it has to go back?
No, we're not. They're just making a reference. They're just trying to give an example.
Okay.
And basically saying, why is the police commission the only commission that city council can override?
Right.
That's
Okay. So basically, what this says is the council shall have the power to override the non-firing, meaning they want to fire the officer, in a way similar. Okay, never mind in a way similar. Are we putting in any particular margin for the council, or simple majority, or what?
We did repeat the question.
I'm sorry. Assuming that, never mind in a way similar, that's confusing me. The city council shall have the power to override the non-firing of the officer.
Oh, the 245B mechanism is a simple majority of the council.
So it would be the same, simple majority. Okay, just checking. And then if council concludes, again, by simple majority, the officer should be fired, decision shall be final, subject, and this is where, of course, anybody can sue anybody. The terminated employees could file a lawsuit and try to get reinstated or get back pay or whatever. Okay, I thank you. I really did want to clarify this. And on item 5, the only clarification, this sounds like we're just going to forward what's already written about LEAP and Jubilee and et cetera. but without the staff having to do all that research, is that correct? Just what we're going to pass tonight goes to council, the staff has no more work involved, is that, am I
No
understanding?
staff.
Well, they're gonna have to draft the charter language for our final review.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I get, the reason I'm asking is because I think the original motion somewhere, I can't find it, I'm sorry, is talking about, you know, wait, let me see if I have it in tonight.
So are you referring to item 5, correct?
I'm just trying to make sure that we aren't setting the staff up for a huge new research project. That
No,
we're just- they're gonna
we
send
are
it as
forwarding
is.
the motions under item 5.
As is.
Correct.
Okay. I thank you for your indulgence. I would still like, and I don't know if now I'm making an amendment, which shall be deemed either friendly or unfriendly, about the commission, the police commission, and that it be expanded to 7, and that it have appointments.
Commissioner Field, since that's an item in the 13 recommendations, I would say that is item number 2.
Okay, I will wait. Thank you so much, everybody.
I have myself and Commissioner Murray in the queue. I'd like to make an amendment, and the authors can tell me if it is friendly or not. On point number 2, I would like to add the following sentence at the end, at the very end. The council shall have the power to override policy decisions of the Board of Police Commissioners in a way similar to the revised charter section 245E.
Fred, could I ask?
If I can, everyone, just because, so let me rephrase, let me restate the amendment. On item number 2, I would like to add a sentence at the end that says, the council shall have the power to override policy decisions of the Board of Police Commissioners. And I'm just going slow because I see commissioners writing, everyone. I'm sure other people are writing. The council shall have the power to override policy decisions of the Board of Police Commissioners in a way similar to the Charter Section 245E.
I know where my calling would be, so I don't have to consult.
And why do you think we're thinking about Oh, that's it. Okay.
I see, we're just getting Commissioner Stein and I have Commissioner Murray. Well, Commissioner Murray, would you like to go first, or do you want to, I think the author just wants to understand it, so if you just give us a second, then we'll go to Commissioner Murray and then Commissioner Field.
Yeah, and I want to understand it.
Okay, well, while people have questions, let me elaborate. So, the revised section 245E gives the council the ability to revisit something. So, 245E is the council's ability to basically assume the work of a commission and then make a decision. They could sustain the decision, they could override the decision, they could agree with it, they could modify it. The Planning and Infrastructure Committee put forward a recommendation that this commission has already approved to make a modification to 245E, which allows it to go back to the commission once. What this is doing is basically expanding the right that council has for all other commissions to this commission.
Was your language similar to revised 245?
Yes. It says, so I'll read it again. The council shall have the power to override policy decisions of the Board of Police Commissioners in a way similar to the revised Charter Section 245E.
Well, it's not revised yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
I will
amendment is accepted as friendly. Commissioner Murray.
First of all, I want to thank Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Stein for putting forth this motion. As you know, I've had a lot of concerns about police accountability, and I had a whole speech planned. And it was gonna top Commissioner Thomas's speech at his best. Because that's what I do on my job, and he does what he does on his job. But anyway, so I want to thank you. I do have a concern. I've been meeting with a lot of community partners in the last several weeks talking about police accountability. And I agree with all of the comments. We probably got several hundred letters about moving forward with 2 proposals that we think are very common sense, well thought out, not like the others haven't, and we'll get to those soon. With allowing the police chief to remove officers with repeated history of harm. My concern is, and I understand the language, and there's been a little bit of confusion about it in these deliberations. And I think we need a little bit help from our city attorney here. At this point, my understanding, I think that is the current state, is that the city council has no authority to make any policy with regards to policing for Los Angeles Police Department. Therefore, they have no authority to make any ordinance with regards to police accountability. I want to confirm that. And while item number 2, the council approves motions and ordinances relating to police accountability shall be sent to the Board of Police Commissioners, I don't believe they have that authority. What I'd like to add, and I'm not a wordsmith on these kind of things. Some of my fellow commissioners are much better at this than I am as far as drafting language. But I would like to include, give the mayor and the city council more direct power over the LAPD, potentially equal to or greater than the police commission, with the right to override both commissions. Now, I think, I don't know if it's clear from what's in this document that they could do that. So I understand Commissioner Mesa's addition to item number 3, but I still don't think it has enough teeth to allow the city council to make any policy decisions with regards to LAPD or police accountability. So I'd like to have the city attorney address that. Yeah.
I'm not in a position to opine on your first objection. During the break, it was brought up by members of the community that LAPD was off limits for council to make motions considering. I asked the city attorney and he said it's not that simple. He would have to do research and that he would come back. So at this time, I would deem that to be not friendly, not because I've taken a position on it, but because of the fact he thinks it would take some time to get the answer, and this will come back to us in the form of our redlining of what we approved or disapproved, and I'm open upon getting the advice of the city attorney to include that in the red line if that's true, that at this time council can't do anything because it was carved out with what I'm going to call, or what I was told, an LAPD exception for any other department, but I'm just not in a position to accept it just because someone told me it. I would want to hear that from the city attorney.
But is that your intent? Was that your intent to have the city council have more authority over policing?
Yes, and one of the things that we just discussed is even if the city council comes here and says we can't do it, I mean the city attorney says you can't do that. City council, they have not accepted what city attorneys have said in the past. And so we can still
vote on this. It doesn't preclude, so because the city attorney is not the commission, we are. And so we send this forward, and that's exactly what we want.
That is your intent, okay.
That is our intent. And so we send this forward, and city council and city attorney have to fight this out until they reach some kind of agreement. But city council is not obligated to accept what the city attorney is proposing. I taught you well. You're an attorney, I'm not.
Yeah, again, I just want to make sure, because
That's
those
what it
items are very, all the items are, and I agree with Commissioner Field about the other items of accountability, but I wanted to make sure that the intent is there, and so when we get the draft language, there will be language in that. I just want to make
Like I
that very
say,
clear.
I wouldn't accept that at this
I
moment
understand.
as friendly, but I would want to hear if there is a LAPD carve out.
Okay, Commissioner Field, I have seen your hand for the last few minutes, but Commissioner Eunisses first.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my statement.
Commissioner Field.
Yeah, what I want to clean up, and whether this amendment is friendly or not, we still can vote on it. If you say it's unfriendly, we could still vote, right? My concern is that the reference to section 245E keeps acting like that already has been changed. And I would like it to be crystal clear, because the current 245E, as it stands, defeats the purpose.
Could I
is more powerful.
I think but I think what Commissioner Fields is saying is worth talking about.
I just wanted to say the proposal from the commission.
Yeah, it's
From
the,
245.
I'm going to speak for my colleague, which is not something I always get away with. But what our intent was, it didn't have to be labeled 245E. It just, we put that in is because most people are familiar with what happens in land use cases and what the powers are there. The intent that Commissioner Thomas and I had was that council could bring it back if in fact they didn't agree with the decision. So maybe when the drafters of this substitute motion, if it is approved by the commission tonight, they will come up with language other than referencing 245E, but they will have the intent that Commissioner Thomas and I had as to what we meant by it.
Okay. Then if I could ask Chair Mesa, your proposed amendment, which is, in my opinion, to make more clear that the council has override not just on firing or non-firing, but on policy. Am I right? Is that what it's about?
That's correct.
But if you want to have that reference to 245E, I beg you, make it say, in accordance with the Charter Reform Commission's proposed change to 245E. Because if I understand right, that change is what you're talking about.
But see,
the council has the last word.
I think I confused you, and I apologize in my drafting of the proposal. I don't care if they never mention 245E, but they simply say as part of this charter amendment that this is the power that we are giving to the council to be in a position to be able to override, as Chair Mesa has said, a policy decision, as well as the other reference that we have, 245E, when it came, I believe, James, didn't we have that in
Number 4.
in 4 with non-fire?
Could you adjust your amendment?
The amendment was considered friendly, so it's part of the main motion. So if it's friendly to Commissioner Stein in the second, and it is, so then yes, your friendly amendment is accepted.
Okay, but is it?
And can you restate it for the notes that are being taken?
Okay, but I mean, is it going to reference 245?
Well, it's your friendly amendment, so you need to tell us what it says.
No, well, only if, All I can say is just make sure it says the proposed change.
Okay.
Otherwise it's
So
confusing.
we're similar to the proposed change.
Right, in item 4.
Yeah, so we'll do it in item 2 and in item 4. Make those two changes.
Okay.
Yes. Commissioner Levine. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Yap.
I have a question about the cost of the insurance, but I'm not sure if this is the right time for it, or if we're talking about the amendment, or if we're talking about the whole motion.
The amendment was seconded as friendly, so this is the good time
the
for
whole motion. Okay, so it's more of a clarification. It's in the third item. It's the proviso that such insurance is available at a cost not exceeding, and if I heard that right, Commissioner Stein, $20 per month.
Yes, sir.
So I'm wondering whether the proviso is necessary. It just feels very limiting to the extent it should be at a reasonable cost, but having a proviso of $20 per month, I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on us being right on that number right now.
I could, you want to speak? Yeah, because you would have heard, there was the person who actually, who I spoke with about the insurance. He said $15 to $20 a month is what it currently is. But I do agree that I think it should be something reasonable.
So, provided such insurance is available at a reasonable cost.
Well, I have a problem with the word reasonable, because what's reasonable to one person is unreasonable to someone else, and that's.
Can we say it?
Hold 1 second, if you would. I didn't know about the insurance until James many months ago brought this up to me. And James, when he brought it up to me, said, I have an expert. He didn't get to speak at a prior meeting for whatever reason it was, time expired or he moved.
The venue was moved.
And James said, this expert has informed me that we can purchase this for $15 a month per officer. I went with his expertise and went up to $20 to start with rather than $15, because I thought that was a reasonable expense that the department could easily handle. But if you use just the word, you striking not exceeding and use the word at a reasonable cost, they could debate that for the rest of their lives what the word reasonable means.
Well, the way that it's written right now is that if it is not at $20, you have no insurance.
Right.
That is correct.
So what
could we?
So $21 is going to have no insurance.
Can we come up with a percentage of salary or percentage of protection?
Well, I'm not sure that we need it at all. Because otherwise, it's $20 and a penny of no insurance. $21, no insurance.
Other than the CPI increase.
Right.
Yeah, it's a limit in here that I don't know that we need.
Right.
And the alternative is no insurance, which we kind of need insurance. So I propose striking the whole proviso or adding a reasonableness standard, which true, people can differ on what reasonableness is, but I would say, Commissioner Stein, you applied your own reasonableness standard to the $20. So we're either applying Ted Stein's reasonableness standard or another general reasonableness standard.
My reasonableness.
So
that
I wouldn't accept that as a friendly amendment.
Commissioner Yap, would you like to propose your amendment or withdraw?
I'd like to, I think that I would like to hear from my other commissioners, but the proposal would be, on item 3, we would remove the proviso related to insurance, so the first sentence would end after $1 million, period.
So so discussion will continue, but you are not making an amendment at this point?
Oh, that would be my amendment, so we can go to discussion, or we can have a discussion.
Okay, so please, just for the notes, if you could restate your amendment.
Sure, and again, the point is to be able to maintain insurance,
If
The
you
first
could read
sentence
the
would-
exact language, just because we're taking notes.
Yes, of course. The first sentence would be in item 3. The sentence would read, as a city policy and per the City of Los Angeles Charter, the police department must purchase liability insurance for each policy officer in the sum of no less than $1 million. And we could keep the reasonableness, so provided such insurance is available at a reasonable cost, period.
Is there a second? Seeing no second, the amendment dies. All right, let's continue on with the discussion.
Currently, we have $380 million that's been paid out, right? So the amount for this is about $4 million, correct?
The amount for 20 years, $2,020,000. $2,020,000.
So
at the whole force.
Right. So if we move this to $4 million, I don't know what that would be per month, but then we would at least, that would be what, my math ain't all that good, 10%, almost 10% of what we're currently paying out in liability insurance, right?
No, it'd be 1%.
1%. So 1%. So I think that's reasonable.
You won't get it for that price.
No, we can.
Okay, let's keep the discussion.
What do you think? Okay, well, you're saying no.
Commissioner Field.
Yeah, at this point, we're still discussing the not exceeding 20, and I think Commissioner Yap raised some interesting point, but, and it's funny because we've heard the comment we shouldn't do, charter budgeting, and yet this would put in the charter the dollar amount, and I understand the CPI can be adjusted, but my point is this, this still is going to come back in a little bit cleaned up language. And, maybe we have to just look at it if it passes tonight, when it's been cleaned up a little. I just want to mention, and with due respect to whoever your expert is, the city can't just go to one person and say, oh, here's how much it's going to cost. They're going to have to do a lot of work and probably have multiple bids and, go through a big bureaucratic process to select a company to provide the insurance and pay whatever the premium is. So I guess I just want to say, I hope the 20 is truly realistic. I don't know anything about the expert that the two of you
Yeah,
spoke.
but it's not, he didn't just recommend one organization. The point is that people act as if this insurance doesn't exist and the police officers don't have it. And so the reason that, the rationale behind putting the $20 in is that anybody can pay that, pretty much. Any police officer can afford to pay that. But the police are not paying for it. It is the police department. And so it's still a tremendous savings on what they're already doing. And so in many ways, this is more about not specifically identifying an insurance company. This is about saying insurance is available, this kind of insurance is available at a lower cost than what is currently believed. Most people, when you hear about personal liability insurance, you think exorbitant amounts similar to malpractice insurance. Malpractice insurance is way more than $20. And so, and it hasn't stopped doctors from becoming doctors. But, so this is a way of saying no. A conscientious police officer, if the city didn't pay, should want to pay for themselves, to protect themselves. And so, so that's really what it's about. It's not necessarily about, now I do have to say, not to exceed that, I don't know any insurance company, they all exceed what you start out with. They all exceed what you start out with. And so I do hear that, but I guess Commissioner Stein is willing to die on this hill. So let's not let this motion die on this hill. And I would just suggest we vote and we can come back and I can invite him back to come and talk about in more detail this insurance. But it is not about choosing a particular insurance company. It is about saying to City Council that this is doable. This is doable. This is not extraneous. This is not a burden. This is doable. That's really it. And Commissioner Stein, you can make it more doable if you just would take that 20 out, but anyway.
All right, I am going to call a vote on the motion as amended. So this is on the substitute amendment as amended for item number 1. Commissioner Andrades is absent. Commissioner Field.
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa votes yes. Commissioner Murray.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Yap.
Yes.
Motion passes. We now move to item 2, a vote to open and possible consideration of potential police reform accountability related charter
Could I make the motion before that? Yes. On items 3 and 4 on the agenda, Commissioner Thomas and I were thinking that those were no longer necessary. And I would move to eliminate items 3 and 4 on today's agenda.
All right, there's a motion to remove items 3 and 4.
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Is there any objection? All right, seeing none, so ordered. Thank you, Commissioners. On to item number 2, a vote to open and possible consideration of potential police reform accountability related charter amendments. Is there a motion, Commissioner Field?
Yes. Well, I don't know if it's a motion tonight because it's not clear to me whether when we see the preamble, whether it's going to talk
Just
about.
a quick, I'm sorry, Commissioner Field, if you are to make a motion, it would be on to whether or not to open the debate so that we can start considering the items.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to open all of them, but I want to open debate. Can I name the numbers? Or?
Well, the motion is for all of them unless you're amending the motion. I would say that we open all of them. Okay. So I move that we open all of them and that we pay close attention. Because I just think we should just pass off, to be honest. Okay. You know, I think so I move that we.
So there's a motion to open debate on all the charter.
I'll second that motion.
It's a motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Mack. All right, let's go into discussion. I have Commissioner Murray, and then Commissioner Murray, Commissioner Levine, and then Commissioner Field. Commissioner Murray. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Going down the list, I reviewed all of these at length. As I've already stated, 10 and 12, which I believe are off the table because we've already voted on them. Those were my most strong recommendations.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, we got it.
Oh, Commissioner Murray, sorry.
So, as to item number 1, racial and socioeconomic equity value statement and limit the use of pretextual stops. Again, we did get a
Commissioner Murray, just and maybe this is helpful for all commissioners. I'm sorry because I'm probably not explaining this well. What I want to do is have a debate on whether or not we're going to go through them individually because we need to, because the motion is just to open it up.
Oh, I think then I'll make a motion to go through them each individually.
No, if the motion on the floor passes, that's what we will do. No, there was not a vote. We're on discussion. There's on discussion on whether or not to open things up.
I would prefer not to go through them
just send them.
It was your vote, wait, your vote,
So let me change my motion. My motion is to send all of these to city council, not to go through them individually. Not to go through them individually, because a part of our agreement was that all of these motions would go forward. And again, the idea is, city council's not gonna consider all 14 of this.
So
All 13 of them.
Commissioner Thomas, so that's, so what we're gonna do is just because, so the motion that we have to do first is whether or not to open it, and then we can have a discussion to advance them all or just certain ones. But this is, the motion, so the discussion on, as the item on, as agendized is to open it first. And so you still have a motion on the floor, seconded by Commissioner Mapp, Commissioner Levine.
So one, and I need to think this more about some of the other recommendations here, but certainly item 1 addresses substantively item 10. Item 1, sections 2 and 4
You're too far advanced.
provide great clarity around the powers of the mayor and city council over LAPD. That is what those items do. And so I just wonder how these operate together. That is a question.
That's why you have to open the debate.
Commissioner Field.
Well, did Commissioner Levine get an answer? I wonder.
They're different.
I think the answer is they're not that same. I mean, they're not that similar. Oh, God, I can't.
Parliamentary, you've got to open the discussion first. If you have that.
I have a case, so Commissioner.
Oh, yeah. Who's voting on whether
I just want to clarify one thing. We are having the discussion around whether to open them up. That's why my question was how this motion interacts with our previously passed motion. It was not on the substance of 10.
The motion is to reopen discussion on reopen and possible consideration of potential police reform accountability related charter amendments. It was a motion by Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Mack. And he retracted that previous statement. This is his motion. Commissioner Field?
I think maybe this answers the question. To reopen everything except 10 and 12, because those have just already been voted on.
No, it's to reopen everything, and then we will go, then at that point, if we decide to, we will accept a motion of whichever motion gets put on the table. Commissioner Fuentes.
I was just gonna say we should reopen it. Let's just reopen it.
That's the next one.
Commissioner Mack.
Really just, okay, first I want to say appreciative of the previous motion put forward by Commissioner Stein and Thomas. I do believe it starts to get some at the original 13 recommendations that we talked about in the Personnel and Budget Committee. However, I will say as the chair of that subcommittee that it doesn't go over all. There are some nuances that are in each of the 13 recommendations that I feel like there is value for us to reopen it and have those discussions since we haven't had that opportunity to do so at full commission meeting, and I would also say not at ad hoc committee as well. And so this is the opportunity for us. We've heard from the public to really hear the recommendations that Commissioner Field and Thomas and I took up in our subcommittee. And so really I am in support of reopening the 13. We don't have to go through all of it. I know there's some overlaps, but I think similar to how we did the previous committees, we can kind of talk about which ones we want to talk about, and maybe some will move forward, maybe some won't, but I think there is value of having the open discussion in front of the public.
Is there any further discussion? All right, I'm going to call the question on, I'm gonna call the vote on whether to reopen the recommendations on police accountability and commissioner reform. Commissioner Andrade is absent. Commissioner Field.
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mapp.
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa votes no. Commissioner Murray.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein.
No.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Yap.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, so this is what we'll do, commissioners. We have all the, let's see, you were handed a printout of the 13 recommendations. There are, it's on pages 4 and 5. We have dealt with some of them, in 2 of them, in some respect. I would imagine there's no point in going through of anything called special. So we will just go through one by one. All right, Commissioner Murray.
Thank you. Again, I've had a chance to go over a deep dive as to 1, racial and socioeconomic equity value statement and limit the use of pretext stops. I've had lengthy discussions with LA Ford and other community partners with regards to this, and I know there are problems with pretextual stops. However, I think anything we would do would just limit, and LAPD would be maybe in opposition to state and federal law. Number 2, improve public accessibility to the Board of Police Commissioners. From my understanding from the community partners who've spoken, that can be a nightmare. They, much like the limits here, they sometimes only get a minute to speak, and there are other guardrails, but I don't know if that's our position to do that policy. I think, again, especially what we've been talking about, the City Council having more authority over the Police Commission. I'm going to leave the day-to-day operations up to them, but I understand it is a problem, and I acknowledge that. Expand commission diversity demographics. Of course, even on this commission and on every other commission, there is, of course, a push for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I support that. However, at this point, I believe that the mayor still has authority to make the appointments, and I don't think there should be any additional qualifications. I understand there is a recommendation, which is really interesting, to have someone who's maybe been the victim of police abuse or a family member the victim of police abuse. So I understand that issue, but I don't think that we should move forward with that particular recommendation. Hopefully the mayor will do that. New requirements for Inspector General audits. We do have an Inspector General. I don't necessarily think that we need to have any more authority. They do have a lot of authority. Whether they're using it is another thing. I'm going to defer to Commissioner Fields on protect protest. She had some very interesting language that she presented in the subcommittee meeting, so I want to hear from her on that. I do have some issues with it, but actually that was the issue what really got me hot and bothered at the Ad Hoc committee, when everybody just wanted to pass the buck, especially when we have people being grabbed up in the streets and protesters being harassed and beaten up. Item number 6, ensure First Amendment rights protection. Same issue. That's another issue that got me hot and bothered at the Ad Hoc committee. I'm going to again leave that to Commissioner Fields. I think she had some interesting language on that. Improve public records disclosure. There already, I know whether they're being enforced or not, there are already limitations on the books with regards to public disclosure, and I deal with that kind of thing every day. Require LAP to pay legal settlements out of their own budget, not the general fund. I don't believe we heard a lot of testimony about this. It is something I'm interested in, but that issue I don't think we've done a deep enough dive in. Board of Rights improvements or eliminations based upon the fact that we passed what is 10 and 12. I think that may deal with the Board of Rights. And we've already discussed, and I've discussed this with Commissioner Thomas, crime reduction by restructuring police budget. Again, ballot box budgeting. I understand we need to improve and increase the budget with regards to social services, but it's a controversial issue, but even though Commissioner Thomas assured me that this was not an defund the police measure, I do believe the police should have a robust budget, and I am not at this point willing to alter that. And the third recommendation is mandate periodic data-driven reviews of LAP deployment and equipment. Again, the Inspector General does have that authority now. So basically what I'm saying is I would like to hear more information on 5 and 6, and I will defer those items to Commissioner Fields. Thank you.
Commissioner Murray, are you presenting, a sort of a roadmap for discussion, or are you making a motion?
I'm not making a motion based upon the fact that I believe Commissioner Field had addressed the issues that I was concerned about.
No problem, thank you.
And just being transparent about where my thoughts are.
Understood. So Commissioner Field, before I send it over, I just want to put a little process in place for this. So what I would like to do, since I'm sure if we went through special, everything would be called special. I would like to go through each item. So we'll start with item number 1, which is racial and socioeconomic equity value statement and limit the use of pretextual stops. Is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion on this item?
I move. So.
Okay, move to advance.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Fuentes. Discussion. Commissioner Levine and then Commissioner Field.
In past discussions, we've had committee chairs elaborate on the item before us. And I wonder if we would like to take a similar approach here.
Yes. So Commissioner Mack, what we'll do is at the beginning of each item, we'll ask you to introduce how the committee discussed this. So we'll start with item 1, have discussion, and then we get to item 2, hand it back to you.
All right, that sounds good. We can start with number 1, and apologies for kind of resting this. It's been a couple of months since we were last in committee. That was dissolved, and so I'm going to be referring those to notes that are on my phone, but I'm gonna start with 1 and then we'll just follow that process. And so the first item is racial and socioeconomic equity value statement and limit the use of pretentious stops. And then I'm gonna invite my 2 fellow commissioners, Commissioner Field and Thomas, to hop in at any point if I am not explaining it well. And so essentially this was a reform that was presented to us by a coalition of organizations. So just to name it out, this is California Catalyst, Ground Game LA, LA Forward Institute, and the League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles. I think a lot of our conversations that really resonated with me is that other cities have done this. And so just to name out the cities, Berkeley has done it, Seattle has done a very similar situations in which the attempt is to limit potential stops from happening in terms of checkups. And so, in the language that it was proposed to us in our staff report, and so if anyone has their device up, in the reform, it does include proposed charter language, as most of our 13 recommendation does. And I don't know if there's value for me to read out those exact charter amendments. I think it would be helpful if folks have that up. But I think I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Thomas if you want to share a little bit more about this item.
Well, one of the reasons that we were trying to reach a compromise is so we wouldn't have to go through each of these. Mm-hmm. And so there are, as far as I see, that the pressing ones are around protecting protests. I think pretextual stops is important. Because Black and brown folks get them all the time. And that can often end in the loss of life. And so that's very important, and that's also something that should be unconstitutional. The attempt has been made to do that. So what I would like to do is, if possible, since my partner here is not going to, he does not want to move forward with these. He feels like it's a violation of what we agreed
That is my mistake, because I thought, and it's both of our mistakes, because had I thought that all of these police reforms were not going forward, then I would not have agreed. So we're in a quandary, but I think that if we can reach a compromise, which is, what are the most pressing reforms? Absolutely necessary for protesters. Why? Because I am one. Because I am one. He's going to represent me. Like, should I get arrested and pay my bail? And I got the other commissioner that's going to help me.
So I was gonna
Yeah, just as a point of order, then let me propose something before we do anything formal. This is what I would recommend. What I am hearing is that in order to honor the discussions that were had, in order to advance item number 1, that for the purposes of this discussion, we would want to focus on items 5 and 6, which I know Commissioner Murray also talked about, and I think Commissioner Field has talked about at committee level. And then dispense with, we just move forward with discussing items 5 and 6.
And not 1.
Well, or 1, 5, and 6, would you like that? That's fine, 3 is better than 13.
Yeah, I like 1.
I was gonna ask if possible, if we can just follow the procedure of calling out specials, like similar.
They're all being called out special. I'm trying to get a process here to figure it out.
I see.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yeah, I would like all of these, but clearly all of these are not going to be, council's not going to submit all of these. And then if I'm not moving forward all 13 of them, then I have not compromised our agreement. So,
So 1, 5, and 6.
Is anybody else?
I think I was going to suggest, Chair Mesa, rather than going through all of them, let's see what the motion is.
Well, I'm about to propose a motion. I'm just having.
Okay.
So let's do this,
But some of
Commissioner.
them may not be something we are going to talk about.
Then I'll propose a motion which will be open discussion. Commissioner Thomas, can you withdraw your current motion?
Withdraw.
Okay, I would like to move a motion. Is the Commissioner Mapp, will you withdraw the second?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Fuentes?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to move a motion that we have discussions on items 1, 5, and 6 only.
Is that your motion?
That would be my motion.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Murray. Discussion. Commissioner Field.
I would like to add item 3.
Commissioner Field would like to add item number 3 that is considered unfriendly, so discussion will be on whether or not to add item number 3. Should we just do a vote? Would be probably easier. Okay, so the motion on the floor is, so the amendment on the floor is to add item number 3 into the discussion. Commissioner Andrade is absent. Commissioner Field.
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine.
No.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mapp.
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa votes no. Commissioner Murray.
No.
Commissioner Murray votes no. Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein.
No.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Yap. Yes. Motion fails. All right. I'm going to call the question on that we are going to have discussion on items 1, 5, and 6 only.
10 is already in.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote. Commissioner Andrade is absent. Commissioner Fields.
Yes on vote discussing
1, 5, and
1, 5,
6.
and 6, yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Sorry, what is?
The vote is to discuss items 1, 5, and 6 only.
No.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
No.
Commissioner Mesa votes yes. Commissioner Murray.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein. No. Commissioner Thomas.
Oh, this is a tough one. Can I ask a question? Oh, this is for discussion.
It won't matter whatever the vote is if it fails, so just you can say no or yes. It will be quicker.
I can't even remember which one was all for this one. We can't have 10.
Well, the motion is already failing, so if you just say yes or no, we'll get to that quicker.
All right. I'm confused.
Okay, yes or no, Commissioner?
No, I don't.
Okay, great. Commissioner, yeah. No. Okay, then I will make another motion that we discuss 1, 5, and 10 only. All right. We did, but they still want it. We need 7 votes. All right. Commissioners, we can do this. All right. So the motion is
It's 1, 5, and
1, 5, 6, and 10.
I'll second. Okay.
1, 5, 6, and 10. Okay. Sorry. Commissioner Andrades is absent. Commissioner Field.
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa votes yes. Commissioner Murray.
No.
Commissioner Murray votes no. Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein.
No.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Yap.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. So commissioners, the only items that we are going to discuss are going to be 1, 5, 6, and 10. Commissioner Mack, you were discussing item number 1. If we could continue.
Yes.
1,
And
1, 5.
so we're gonna look at 1, 5, 6, and 10. I'll start with number 1 first as continuation, and just as a resource as well. I forgot that some.
Commissioner Mack,
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
Because now we're back. If someone could just make a motion related to item number 1. I imagine you all want to advance it. We're just in discussion.
Okay. Yes, so moved. I'll move on.
Okay, is there a second?
Commissioner Mack will second that.
Okay, sorry, Commissioner Mack.
Okay, I think just as a resource as well, I forgot that we have a package that was handed out to us from, it was folks from James and Presty in the public, but as someone who was on the committee, I would say that it is pretty on par with the discussions that we had at committee, and so I would bet this as a resource to refer to. Just because I know it's printed in front of us and we don't have the staff memo in front of us. And so I'm going to be, yes, I hear Commissioner Theo, second to last page of this packet that says responses, the first page says responses to arguments against charter reform, but if you keep on flipping, it has actually a good breakdown of considerations for the specific reforms. So looking at number 1, is the racial and social economic equity value statements and limits the use of potential stops. And so some of the comments in this package says that potential stops are a clear and present threat to civilians, especially non-white citizens. 10% of roughly 1,100 people killed by police each year, national or from traffic stops. They are also not effective policing per LAPD's own data, while approximately 10% of reported stops are potential, only 30% net evidence of other crimes. And I think just to reiterate again, referring back to our staff report, we did talk extensively about other cities that have implemented it in their local policies and seen a improvement in limitations in those potential stops. And then just to reiterate, City of Berkeley and also Seattle. We're discussing item number 1.
Commissioner Field.
This, and thanks to Mr. James Moore, because this is pretty much all we have tonight. I certainly don't have my notes from the original committee meeting, not with me. I just want to mention one thing. The second bullet has a footnote, and the footnote makes me think that the data is really old, because it says, note, it is likely that this data, while not yet updated, will be drastically reduced when accounting for the decriminalization of marijuana. So that was a long time ago in California. So all I'm saying is, I'm not sure the details here are accurate. I think the intent that the committee talked about was, to reduce what sometimes turn into tragedies. When people are stopped for things that are not criminal activity, maybe bad judgment or bad luck or, not enough money to fix the taillight. I'm just trying to add some context to this since we don't have the details this evening.
Commissioner Thomas.
I think it's important to note that the country is moving towards eliminating the kinds of stops that are primarily protection. Specifically in Los Angeles, they want police out of traffic stops. And so, people are being killed because of the broken taillight, because they have an air freshener hanging from their window. So this whole idea of pretextual stops, this is not new. Just like the chokehold isn't new. And if we had declared the chokehold unconstitutional, we could have saved.
It is unconstitutional.
I know it is, but it wasn't in 1971 when Lyons was the city of Los Angeles. But we should have done it then. And so I think this is chokehold 2.0. It's not about how you die, it's that you die. And so I think it's really, really important that we vote in favor of moving this one forward. I think it's fine.
And then just, if I can add one more thing, because I have the staff report now pulled up. So the attached language that was part of this reform was actually drafted charter language, and I would like to read that out. It's specifically looking at section 570, and I'll just read it out right now. The statement would read, in exercising the powers and duties provided under this section, the police department and its officers shall always act to prioritize the sanctity of life, health, safety, and constitutional rights of all the people of the city of Los Angeles. A officer shall not stop or detain the operator of a motor vehicle based on a vehicle equipment violation or a non-moving violation. And so that's the exact language that was attached to this item.
Are there any commissioners who'd like to go to the queue? Commissioner Murray.
I just want to reiterate, I agree with the fact about pretext stops. It's just the DA and me, I believe it doesn't align with current state and federal laws, and that's the only reason why I don't support it. I understand pretext stops, they can lead to dangerous situations. I've done a lot of reform on chokeholds, carotid restraint, and that is now unconstitutional in the state of California, or you can't, it's against the law in the state of California. So I understand everybody's concern, and it's my concern too. I had a very lengthy meeting the other day with LA4 talking about this issue. So it's not that I condone pretext stops, but I don't believe it's in alignment with state and federal law.
Commissioner Fuentes and then myself in the queue.
Could either maybe like the staff or the city attorney address that point? No? Oh.
We're not gonna, sorry.
If the item were to move forward.
It isn't.
Oh,
yeah.
We just, if I may, we just want to opine on like the legal aspect line. We would opine only on like, can you vote on this or not vote on this, but we can't opine on whether or not you first was.
You can move forward though, well, with that.
If you move forward, then we have to do this, but we still do the research on.
And that's also, it was listed in the handout that we got. It did say city attorney review at either committee or council level would ensure that this is in line with state and federal laws. And it was, that issue was mentioned in the staff report.
I have myself, Commissioner Stein, Commissioner Thomas in the queue. In the previous motion, we enhanced the council's authority in two ways to address policy related to the police commission. One is for them to be able to pass an ordinance, and if that ordinance or policy instruction has to get a vote within 60 days without modification. And if no vote is scheduled, then it automatically becomes law. So there's going to be a lot of political pressure on the police commission because council would have already been able to get 8 votes, which is not always a guarantee, would have to overcome a mayoral veto if one is issued, and then be sent to the commission. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on the commission that does not currently exist. The other enhancement that we gave the council is the ability to override policy decisions of the commission. This, under the new system, is something that council could also advance under those enhanced powers if they are adopted. So I just wanted to also lift that up because that's going to be very similar for some of the additional items that we will be discussing. Commissioner Stein.
I was just going to add that I agree with Commissioner Murray that I think this does violate federal and state law, and considering the Supreme Court that we have now, I don't see that changing.
Commissioner Thomas.
Well, if the demand is to get cops out of traffic stops, that's the demand, and that is happening. Cities are doing it. And so that's really what this is about. And so even though it may not be consistent with federal and state law, it doesn't mean that maybe that will trigger some agreement. You can't hear me? No, we can hear you. Maybe that will trigger city council saying, let's get cops out of traffic stops to get around state and federal law, because that is what the problem is. And so it was state and federal law to enslave African people. So sometimes state and federal law is wrong and needs to be changed. And so I don't think that we would be in any way supportive of the enslavement of African people, even though it was state and federal law. In the same way, I don't think that we should be in favor, because it's state and federal law, not saying that as a commission, we want pretextual stops. We want them to stop because they end in death more times than not. And so if you are a black person, particularly a black male, and a brown person, particularly a brown male, you have experienced the police pulling up behind you. And you have thought, did I put my blinker on? Are my blinkers working? Is my headlight out? So, in the end, those things can lead to the loss of life. And so, I would just say, in spite of what you know, we got two lawyers here, so of course they're gonna pivot towards the law, and we respect that, we appreciate that.
We actually have 3 lawyers here, I know. I got Commissioner Levine and Commissioner Field. Commissioner Levine.
I appreciate the perspective that's been offered by the lawyers here. And I've tried throughout this process, although I've not been perfectly consistent, to avoid advancing through the charter reform process reforms that could otherwise have been considered through ordinance, or should be by the city council considered as ordinance, and certainly in my opinion should have already been considered, passed, and enacted by ordinance in the city of Los Angeles. And I don't know, Commissioner Mack, if the examples you cited in Seattle and Oakland were done through the charter, or if those were done through the ordinance. But I am going to say, I think in this matter, I'm thinking a lot about the conversation we had last week and Commissioner Yap's perspective that occasionally we need to think not just about whether or not this is legal, or whether or not it will be taken up by the city council in the future, but rather as a commission, as a body of the city, a statement around what kind of city we want to be. And so, I appreciate that this may not be in concert with state and federal law, but I will vote to advance this motion.
Commissioner Field.
And thank you for the way you phrased that, Commissioner Levine. I think, if I understood correctly, Commissioner Thomas, one of your points was, we advance this not because we think the council will put it into the ballot measure for a charter, but because we think it will add weight to raising the concern for future council action. And that to me makes sense. I think the legal issues are going to come up. I think the council is going to do all kinds of things, but in effect, we're sending a message, if I understood how you view this. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Fuentes.
I was just gonna offer that, this is on, sorry. In 2024, City Council had passed 13-0, the beginning of a research project to collect information about how far the city can go to stop police officers from enforcing state traffic laws related to the exact pretextual stops that we're talking about right now. So it seems like, not that it matters, but the alignment is already there. I think that this message being sent in accompaniment to that research that's already being done by them would offer a bit of legitimacy. So I think that this makes sense to support and to advance forward.
I'm going to call a vote on item 1 to advance racial and socioeconomic value statement and limit the use of pretextual stops. Commissioner Douglas is absent. Commissioner Field.
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine. Yes. Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
Yes. We have a nice
Sorry. Thank you for that. I'm gonna hold the vote and we'll actually reconduct it this for Zoom once we figure out the tech stuff.
The volume dropped down.
Test. Okay, we're back, everyone. So for those on Zoom, we briefly lost the mics. We are conducting a vote for advancing item number 1, racial and socioeconomic equity value statement and limit these and pretextual stops. I'll restart the vote. Commissioner Hernandez is absent. Commissioner Field.
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa votes no. Commissioner Murray.
No.
Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein.
No.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Yap.
Yes.
Motion fails. We now move on to item number 5, protect protests. Commissioner Mack.
Yeah, so Protect Protest was also another reform that was presented to us from the coalition of organizations, and this one in particular wanted to propose to include a provision in the subsection Charter Section 574A to explicitly recognize and protect protests and unquibble it association with riots, disturbances, and breaches of peace. And so that was the context of this item number 5.
Is there a motion to advance this item? Commissioner Field?
I'd actually like to maybe consolidate 5 and 6. I'd like to make a motion. I'm going to read it slowly. The City of Los Angeles acknowledges and supports the constitutional rights of everyone, regardless of immigration status, and including all members of any form of media, to peacefully assemble and protest. Peaceful protest is not the same as a violence or rioting. LA Police Department must protect constitutional rights and avoid using violent means to manage peaceful crowds.
Is this, Commissioner Field is looking at your notes, I was going to ask if it's in a legible format. It does not look like it's not. I know the staff are going to need
I can
it.
get it to them. It's readable, sort of. I can help you.
Sure.
And I want to, can I second?
You can, yes, so there's a second, so let's have a discussion.
Is this a substitute motion?
This would be a,
For what?
For 5
Commissioner
and
Field
6.
for 5 and
It's
6.
in place of 5 and 6.
So there's a motion, there's a substitute motion to combine 5 and 6 with the language that Commissioner Field has proposed.
Can I hear it one more time, please?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, don't be sorry. It's a little lengthy. City.
I just want to torture you the way people do with me when they ask me to reread something that I've written in longhand and I can't make out 3 words that I've written.
Oh, I can still read it. City of Los Angeles acknowledges and supports the constitutional rights of everyone, regardless of immigration status, and including all members of all forms of media, to peacefully assemble and protest. Peaceful protest is not the same as violence or rioting. The LA Police Department must protect constitutional rights and avoid using violent means to manage peaceful crowds.
All right, that's a motion by Commissioner Field, I believe the second by Commissioner Mack. Or Thomas, sorry, I apologize, these are mistaken notes. Discussion.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, please.
I mean, I think it speaks for itself, and I don't know where it would go in the charter. Maybe it's preamble, wherever. I'm not positing where it should go. I just think it reflects really a simple common sense statement, which does speak to concerns that we heard in the committee and that we've received comments on. So that's my statement.
Commissioner Yap and then Levine.
Thank you. I'm pretty saddened that I think we are in an environment in which we believe that we need this, but I believe we need this. And, so I hope my fellow commissioners support this effort.
Commissioner Levine.
It's a statement and a question, I guess, but Commissioner Field, in the staff report, it notes that your proposed language, which is now modified, was intended to live in Charter Section 574A, which discusses the duties of the Chief of Police, and is a paragraph that would be amended to the discussion of the suppression of riots.
Okay, Again, I'm
So
not positing the exact location, but if you know where it belongs.
Well, and my question was, is that still the intent? As is written in the staff report.
Okay. Yes, I think the intent is, you folks are so much ahead of me, but the intent is wherever we were discussing it in the committee, that makes sense in the charter. Thank you.
And then I have a question. There was.
Can I ask at some point, Commissioner Levine or Field, for someone to make a amendment so that it's formal and on the table?
Then go in.
Yes. Yes. I thought I had a second question, but actually, in reading the staff report, I do not. So this would be an amendment to clarify, consistent with the staff report. This would be an addition to Charter Section 574A.
Is that friendly?
Yes, that's friendly.
Commissioner Levine, any additional comments at this point? I have so Commissioner Field, I'm trying to, if you could help me on this. What do you foresee being like the on-the-ground practical implications of your motion?
Well, that's a great question. Everything depends on factors that you can't make happen by writing a statement in a charter. I do think, well, let's face it, how are things like this enforced? Lawsuits, which is a bad thing. We don't like it, but I mean, essentially, it's a message to the LAPD not to start with the tear gas and the so-called, I don't know the word, the non-real bullets, when people are peaceful. Now, you'll note that, you know, it says not using violent means to manage peaceful crowds. And frankly, I'd like a whole additional thing, but I don't know if it's been on the agenda enough to discuss, where we talk about where police, armed police, are not right out there in front of protesters, and there's a less than lethal type of supervision or protection, unless, I have to admit, I think we all have to be fair and honest. After all the peaceful people go home, sometimes a few people hang out and they hate the cops and they start throwing the water bottles. And even then, they probably should not be met with, you know, the whatever you call those soft bullets that can hurt people. I mean, it's just a message. The enforcement is probably going to happen when people start filing complaints, I would assume. That's my very personal understanding. I'm sure there's much better knowledge around the table about, you know, how do you enforce.
Commissioner Thomas and then Commissioner Mack.
I'm really glad that you brought this up as someone who protests quite often and who I've seen firsthand. Give you an example. The clergy were protesting during the George Floyd riot. About 100 police showed up in riot gear. And it, you know, and it was Clergy for Black Lives. And so Clergy for Black Lives is an organization that I'm a co-founder of. And basically what the organization does is all faith traditions. It's not just pastors, it's all faith traditions, all different races and ethnicities, right? And so, and a large contingency of Clergy for Black Lives were rabbis. What happened is that the organizers, Clergy for Black Lives, the core group are black folks, black clergy. And so we were putting things in order to prepare for the protest. It was very extravagant. We had caskets. It was simultaneous with George Floyd's actual funeral. And so we, you know, discussed with his family what time that would be. And so we brought caskets and hearse from what we call the four corners of Los Angeles. And we converged on, right up the street, on Spring, right in front of this building, First and Spring. And so as we were setting up, 100 riot police came, ready to arrest us, the black folks that were doing this. And so one of the black clergy got on the microphone and said, white clergy, we need to use your white privilege to come and stop these police from arresting us. And those white clergy stood in front of us, stood in front of the police, and the police went away. And we tied up that intersection, like it or not, for about 4 hours. And so I say that to say, that is the strategy. You don't need, they don't have to do that. They just do that to certain groups. I organize with it's an older group in the Valley. Now, when you organize in South LA or downtown, you know, you have all of these amplification requirements. You have to keep walking. You know, you can't just stand in one place and protest. You can't have a megaphone. Pastor Q was arrested and roughed up because he had a megaphone across the street, not even where the activity was going on. Across the street he had a megaphone. And it's very interesting because he also preaches on Skid Row every Friday. So he has amplification. He was arrested. Well, the group in the Valley, I was the only black person there. The police was just sitting there like chilling. They ain't said nothing. They had megaphones, they were loud, you know, and so it is very important that this be put in place because they should be mandated to treat everyone equally. And the last, you know, little story I'll tell you is a lot of times people bring their kids to protests. You know, they bring their kids to, because protests, if you've never been to one, you need to go to one. They're not what you think. They're great experiences. Well, imagine bringing your kids to a protest and they start with the rubber bullets. I know 10-year-olds. Huh? Don't leave yet. We're gonna vote. I'm calling for the vote. Imagine your 10-year-old being shot with a rubber bullet because they went out to the protest with their parent. That happens multiple times. And so I think this gets at that. So with that said, if you don't have anything else.
Commissioner Mack is in the case.
Yeah, and I just wanted to answer maybe a little bit clearer, Chair Mezzo, to your question of how this might play out on the ground. Specifically, for those who are not aware of what Charter Section 5748 is, it is the section which discusses the power and duties of the Chief of Police and what they're empowered to do so. And so essentially right now in this section, it talks about their role to suppress all riots and disturbances and breaches of peace. And so to include this in this section specifically, it is an act of just holding the police, chief of police accountable, and also, like my fellow colleague said, it is a value statement of this is what we believe in, but it also allows for accountability, and it is housed under somewhere. And so just for folks who weren't aware of what section that was, I wanted to make that clear that that is what this section talks about.
Commissioner Field, can you restate your motion as amended?
Yes. For section 574A of the charter, that's the amendment, right? The City of LA acknowledges and supports the constitutional rights of everyone, regardless of immigration status, and including all members of all forms of media, to peacefully assemble and protest. Peaceful protest is not the same as violence or rioting. The Los Angeles Police Department must protect constitutional rights and avoid using violent means to manage peaceful crowds.
And this was a substitute motion combining items 5 and 6, correct?
Yes.
All right. We will take a vote. Commissioner Andrades is absent. Commissioner Field.
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Levine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa votes no. Commissioner Murray.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein.
No, because I think it invites more lawsuits.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Yap.
Yes. Yes.
Motion passes. All right, we now move on to item number 10.
I think we did, but for clarity, because what we can do is add the language, because I think that's what, when you add the policy, that was what but exactly what is said in 10 is exactly what the intent was, what we came up with. But for the sake of the people who have pushed for this, who are here, I think we should just go ahead and vote on this motion. I don't even think we can get discussion about it.
We do need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward item number 10.
I'll second.
One more vote.
I would just say that item number 10, as written into the staff report and in letters from advocates, conflicts with what we passed in item number 1. The conflict is nuanced, but there is a conflict. The two are not directly the same. Item number 10 is probably most analogous to the letter that Councilmember Soto-Martinez provided to us multiple times. Which item 1 is substantially and materially different. And so I do want to note that for commissioners, it's not the same. It is, I mean, I always know that.
So can we call for the vote?
Call for the question.
Okay.
The question has been, well, Commissioner Levine, and then let's allow the question, and then we'll jump in.
Yes,
Commissioner Levine.
my question is if we can have,
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
It's different, come back.
Commissioner
Thing
Levine.
is different.
my question is if Commissioner Mack can please call the motion.
So item number 10 is give the mayor and the city council more direct power over LAPD, potentially equal to or greater than the police commission with the power to override both commission. And so this, I think, as Chairman said, this is what we heard a lot in the public today, and also was in the letter that Councilmember Soto-Martinez presented to us. And so this is looking at specifically Charter Section 571, and for those who are following on the staff report, it is on page 45, but it focuses on the Board of Police Commission, bodies and powers, and the board served as the head of the Los Angeles Police Department, functioning similar to the corporate board of directors. So specifically in this one, this one in particular is direct charter language, and so I'm going to read out the charter language provided to us in the letter from Councilmember Soto-Martinez. It is in section 574, powers of duties and the chief of police. And so what it essentially does is adds in ordinance adopted by council and consistent with such ordinances. And so it is a list of things in which the chief of police has to adhere to. So the chief administrative officer of the police department shall be known as the chief of police, subject to provisions of the charter, the rules of the police department, ordinances adopted by the council, and the instruction of the board of police commissioners consistent with such ordinances. The chief of police shall have the power and duty to ... And I think just to add my personal comments onto this, Commissioner Murray, I resonated with a lot of your earlier comments and your concerns on whether or not the initial motion, I believe it was the second paragraph, was strong enough. And so for me, And I think you raised the question of whether or not City Council currently has the authority to have policy oversight, and I do think this item gets closer to that.
Commissioner Thomas.
Well, we need to, I was just told by my colleague here that this wipes out item 2 of the motion that we passed initially. I don't see it as doing so. So can somebody explain that? I don't see it as doing. So item 2 is I move the council approve motions and ordinances regarding police accountability shall be sent to the Board of Police Commissioners, the Chief of Police, and Los Angeles Police Department, and must be agendized at a public hearing and voted on within 60 days of City Council's adoption of the policy, instruction, or ordinance, or else it becomes law. I don't see how that.
Again, because I think.
Can somebody explain that? I don't see how.
As Commissioner Stein isn't convinced, but my understanding of the law is that the police commission, there is, to use Commissioner Stein's language, there is a carve out for police policy that the commission is in charge of all the police policy. And I think maybe some commissioners thought that was unclear, but I think number 10 does give a little bit more meat, so I don't have a problem with voting on this separately. I don't think they're not mutually exclusive.
Any other commissioners? No, I'm ready to take a vote. Look, Commissioner.
I only have a comment.
Okay, Commissioner.
The first time in my life that I voted against something that I proposed.
Oh, Commissioner, yeah.
I share the view of Commissioner Murray that this is that they would be able to coexist, so I don't see a direct conflict. I also think that just on the plain reading of give the mayor and the city council more direct power over the LAPD, potentially equal to or greater than the police commission, with the right to override both commissions, also seems to me to be a natural governance result that we should have as a city if we do not. So I'm supportive of this motion.
Commissioner Field.
Yeah, I'm turning into a pumpkin, as you see, but, yeah, if we're voting, forgive me, Commissioner, I'm going to share this briefly. I just want it cleaned up because I don't want it to say both commissions. One is the police commission and one is the Board of Rights, if I understand correctly the intent. And we really need to say that more clearly. That, in other words, I don't know why it even says equal or greater to the police commission. It should just say the council, more direct power over the LAPD with the right to override the police commission and the Board of Rights.
That amendment would be friendly.
Oh.
Is that an amendment?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
All right.
Pumpkin sprouts.
Commissioners, this is what I'm going to do to help clarify things for you, because I think it's at least fair to you to understand the nuances of what's here, and then up to all of you to vote the way that you want to vote. But it is clear to me that not all of you know the difference in what you're voting on. And so I'm just going to explain the two, and then we can do a vote, and the vote will land where it lands. All right, so on the earlier motion that we adopted, on the alleged compromise that was not a compromise, number 2, all right, it says, I move that all council-approved motions and ordinances related to police accountability shall be sent to the Board of Police Commissioners, the Chief of Police, and the Los Angeles Police Department, and must be agendized at a public hearing and voted on within 60 days of the City Council's adoption of the policy, instruction, or ordinance, or else it becomes law. What does that mean? That means that the council can pass an ordinance or a motion related to the police department, police accountability. The police commission still has the authority to agendize it and vote it down. They could also agendize it and vote yes, and it becomes law. Or they cannot take any action, and then after 60 days it becomes law. So that's what this says. What this item that we're discussing says, and I'm not doing a judgment, I just want people to understand what you're voting on. What this says is that if council passes a motion or ordinance, that it will be enacted into law just as any other motion or ordinance. It does not need to go to the police commission for any additional processes. Like that's the change. So that's the difference between the two. In addition to that, item 2 had a friendly amendment to allow the council shall have the power to override policy decisions of the Board of Police Commissioners, a way similar to the proposed charter section 245E.
Well, I think this is actually more clear with the right to override with commissions.
So, no, I don't want people to understand the difference. It's fine, we can have discussion and then, like I said, I didn't advocate one way or another yet. I just wanted to make sure people were clear on what the distinction was. So Commissioner Levine.
Override applies to them voting down the original.
Commissioner Levine.
That's still not clear.
This is why I had suggested that these were in conflict. I believe that the proposed motion that we passed in item 1 is perhaps not more clear, but definitely more prescriptive as to what the process is through which this happens, is more thoughtfully presented alongside other reforms that this commission has advanced. And so I would urge us to support our previous work on item 1 and instead of this proposal.
Commissioner Field.
Yeah. I think my confusion is that I read 10, and even though it doesn't say it, so this may be my mistake, I thought it meant around the issue of police fire.
No, Commissioner Mack.
It's anything.
Yes.
It's any issue. Okay. Okay. And I think it has been amended to say the power to override the police commission and the Board of Rights, which the Board of Rights is about the discipline and firing, right? Okay. I just want to be sure I understand. Thank you.
Commissioner Fuentes? Sorry, guys. Okay, then I'm going to call a vote on item number 10, which is give the mayor and city council more direct power over the LAPD, potentially equal to or greater than the police commission, with the right to override both commissions. Commissioner Andrades is absent. Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes?
Yes.
Commissioner Levine?
This is to advance 10.
This is to advance 10.
No.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack?
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa votes no. Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein?
No.
Commissioner Thomas?
Doesn't matter.
I abstained. There's no abstentions.
This matters. The thing is.
Commissioner Thomas, it's yes or no vote?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Thomas votes yes. Commissioner Yap?
Yes.
Motion fails. All right, commissioners, let's do ex parte communications before we leave, please. Are there any ex parte, do any commissioners have any ex parte communications to disclose that happened during this meeting? Commissioner Field.
Yeah, no, I haven't got any ex parte, but I remember I'm supposed to bring up the reconsideration of the neighborhood council budget. I don't want to deal with it tonight, but can we vote yes or no on we will reconsider it next time?
Okay, so there is, what is the, everyone real quick, just so we get this done. So Commissioner Field, please restate which item you want to take up?
I want us to reconsider what we voted down 2 days ago, and apparently we have to do it tonight to make the reconsideration. I don't know if we have to vote on the item.
Voted down 2 days, which specific item?
I'm sorry, it was about the set aside for some tiny percent of the budget.
So the set aside
for the
budget.
neighborhood council.
So
Yes.
as commissioners may or may not know, a motion to reconsider can only be moved by someone who was in the majority of that vote.
She was.
Were you in the majority?
Yes, I voted no.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we're going to take a vote. So there is a motion to agendize at a future meeting the neighborhood council set aside discussion. All right, so discussion.
I would refer to the public comment we got today, specifically related to the elections and what's at stake there. And I think that's what inspired Commissioner Field to make this motion. I think maybe even if this passes, to discuss having a cap to the amount instead of a percentage. That could be more interesting to this group, so I'll offer that.
Commissioners, I'm going to be opposed to this motion because we literally just discussed it. And we went through, I think, over 20 recommendations. I think there were more that Link proposed. And so, and Bonk. And so I'm not inclined to open discussions that we have spent significant time on. Is there any further discussion before we take the vote? All right, the motion is to reconsider the set aside for neighborhood councils. Commissioner Hernandez is absent. Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes?
Yes.
Commissioner Levine?
No.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack?
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa votes no. Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez votes no. Commissioner Stein? No. Commissioner Thomas? I'm sorry, Commissioner, thank you, I apologize. Commissioner Sanchez is absent. Commissioner Stein votes no. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Yap? No. Motion fails. Can I have a motion to adjourn, Commissioners? Were there any ex parte disclosures that Commissioners had during the meeting? No, seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second, is there an objection? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.